The very first thing the man does upon arriving in another world is grab a silver needle and drive it into his own acupuncture point. Because with every needle he drives in, he gains new skills and extra days to live. He restores his own vitality, buying himself a future that no longer ends in death, and he becomes the legendary healer who shakes an entire continent. But in his previous life, he was just an ordinary doctor. Poor management of his clinic left him buried in debt. Then a viral outbreak hit, and people everywhere blamed his hospital for their infections. Broken and demoralized, he wandered to a riverside to clear his head, but he never saw it coming. He slipped and fell into the water. At that very moment, a notification appeared before him. The health point system has been activated. By accumulating health points, he can unlock all kinds of skills and fantastical beings. Little did he know, this system would change everything for him. When he opens his eyes again, he finds himself in completely unfamiliar surroundings. He quickly realizes he is not in a hospital. The decor around him is entirely medieval in style. Just then, a middle-aged man nearby looks at him with deep concern and asks if he is all right. But the man has absolutely no memory of him. So the man introduces himself. He is Piero Garden, the Crown Prince's personal physician. The man has no idea what any of that means. But as he reaches for a drink of water, he notices something is off, because the face looking back at him is not his own. And then it hits him. His appearance matches exactly the description from that novel, Raquel Adrianoa. Could he have been reincarnated into the world of that story? In disbelief, he slaps himself hard across the face. The sharp pain tells him, this is real. This is incredible. He has become Crown Prince Raquel, and finally he doesn't have to worry about that crushing debt anymore. But a second later, his entire body goes limp and he collapses to the ground. Only then does he remember. In the novel, Raquel was only a minor character who appeared briefly in the early chapters. He was frail and sickly from birth and died of illness at just 22 years old. He then learns from Piero Garden that he is currently 21 years old, which means he has just 1 year left to live. Damn it. As royalty, Raquel had access to the finest medical care and the blessings of countless clergy, and yet he still died of illness. That leaves only one option. He signals to Piero Garden to bring him some long needles. He will take matters into his own hands and protect his body himself. The scene shifts. He is now examining his own condition. The results are grim. He detects the 10 abnormal pulses in his body. These are signs of critical danger. Even a single flare-up from any one of them could cause devastating internal damage. Meanwhile, Piero Garden returns with all the long needles. Looking at the assortment of needles laid out before him, he picks one out and holds it over a flame to sterilize it. Piero Garden watches in confusion. What does the Crown Prince intend to do with a needle? Stick it into my body, of course. Hearing this, Piero Garden immediately drops to his knees, begging the prince not to harm himself. But the Crown Prince calmly explains that he has his reasons. He would never toy with his own body. Piero Garden just needs to trust him. He decides the first needle will target his breathing. The lungs are the starting point of the 12 meridians, and the closest meridian to the lungs is the hand-tying lung meridian. As he slowly inserts the needle, the acupuncture points along the meridian open up all at once. At the same time, a notification chimes before him. Due to the accurate application of acupuncture, his lungs have been strengthened. Fresh air comes flooding into his lungs. He receives a reward of 100 HP, but the man looks genuinely puzzled. He has never encountered a system like this before, but it seems only he can see it. So Piero Garden, completely in the dark, begins to think the Crown Prince has lost his mind. At the same time, the man picks up another long needle and gently drives it into the Yunmen point. The next moment, the precise needling of the Yunmen point eases the tightness in his chest. He then works his way through the points, needling the Tianfu point, the Kongzui point, and the Yuji point in sequence. In no time, his lungs feel as though they have been given a deep, soothing massage. The final needle goes into the Shaoshang point. As the needle slides in, the acupuncture treatment for his lungs is complete. The next moment, his lungs feel completely reborn. The renewal even spreads to his large intestine, bringing it back to full activity. A notification appears. The large intestine and lungs together have granted 300 HP. Current HP, 600. At this point, he is ready to unlock a new skill. He is curious. Could it be a sword technique or a magic spell, like something straight out of a fantasy story? He taps confirm without hesitation. A list of available skills appears before his eyes, but he stays completely calm, because everything on the list is something he already knew from his previous life. He selects the pulse reading skill without a second thought. After all, you need an accurate diagnosis before you can prescribe the right treatment. With the pulse reading skill unlocked, he can now assess the overall state of his body's health by reading his own pulse. He puts it to use right away. After a lengthy examination, his full health report appears before him. Every single one of his organs is currently ranked at the lowest grade, F. At the same time, a warning flashes before him. Current remaining lifespan, 91 days. But he refuses to sit back and accept death. He decides to perform acupuncture in a clockwise sequence, using a controlled breathing technique to remove each needle. As the final needle goes in, something unexpected happens. His remaining lifespan increases by a full day. He realizes now, the acupuncture is actually working. He then attempts to needle his right hand, but the result is a mouthful of blood spat out. The reason? The acupuncture was performed too frequently. A patient needs sufficient physical strength to endure the stress that acupuncture places on the nerves and meridians. But at the very least, it confirms that acupuncture works. The real problem is the state of his body. Based on a 3-day recovery period between sessions, if his lifespan grows with each treatment, he could gain at least another month. But clearly, that approach is far too slow. So he comes up with a more efficient efficient solution. Medicinal tonics. He turns to Piero Gardan right away. Does the storehouse carry any highly toxic medicinal herbs? Of course, Piero Gardan confirms that it does. Then you have aconite root as well, correct? Excellent. Please bring them to me. Piero Gardan is baffled. Why would the Crown Prince need something like that? Because I intend to consume it. Hearing this, Piero Gardan drops straight to the floor, pleading desperately with the prince not to harm himself. The man explains calmly, this is simply part of the treatment. You know the root of aconite is highly toxic, yes? The plant has two types of root. The one I need is called the secondary root. Yes, it carries a poison potent enough to stop a heart, but he knows a method to neutralize it completely. In other words, he can transform it into a proper medicinal herb. Once the secondary root goes through the detoxification process, it can be used as a safe medicine. Piero Gardan doesn't fully understand, but he agrees, and quietly hopes the aconite root will truly help the Crown Prince. As Piero Gardan heads to the storehouse to retrieve it, he makes a quiet vow to himself. For the Crown Prince's safety, once the detoxification is done, he will taste it first before the prince touches a single drop. The scene shifts. The herbs have been boiled down into a thick, concentrated broth, but Piero Gardan is still deeply worried, so the man decides to mess with him a little. If you think it's poisonous, why don't you try it yourself? Of course, Piero Gardan says he would be more than willing. Hearing that, the man suddenly remembers. In the novel, Piero Gardan was a man of absolute loyalty. When every other physician had given up on the Crown Prince, Piero Gardan alone chose to stay and care for Raquel. And after the Crown Prince died, he bore the full weight of the blame and met his own end because of it. What a genuinely devoted man. Someone like that deserves a good life. But this pot of medicine, the man has absolutely no intention of sharing it. After straining it carefully, a bowl of Mahuang Fuzi Jixin decoction is ready. To stop Piero Gardan from tasting it first, he explains, this medicine can only be taken once it is cooled down completely. But Piero Gardan is curious, how does the Crown Prince even know about this remedy? To avoid a lengthy explanation, he lies, claiming a wizard told him about it in a dream. While Piero Gardan is still mulling this over, the man grabs the bowl in one swift motion and drinks it down to the very last drop. The next second, he feels an energy exploding to life inside him. A notification appears, drinking the tonic has stimulated his body's metabolism, and the Azrahan core energy has been awakened. The man is thoroughly confused. The Azrahan core energy is a cultivation method created 300 years ago by Javier Azrahan, and can only be used by those of direct royal bloodline. The body he now inhabits belonged to the Crown Prince himself, so of course it had already learned this method. It is currently only at level 1, but it allows him to control the mana around his heart and set it flowing in a continuous cycle. Reaching the next level will require 1000 HP. The next moment, the mana around his heart begins to circulate. Within moments, he can feel the mana flowing through his entire body. Is this really the legendary power of mana? This is absolutely incredible. But a second later, a searing pain tears through his chest. It drops him to the ground, unable to move. The mana circulation is putting far too much strain on his heart. The balance between the mana ring and his heart has shattered. His heart could stop at any moment. Could it be that his heart is too small to match the size of the mana ring? After all, Raquel had been frail and sickly since birth, with almost no physical conditioning. His heart is being squeezed and strangled by the mana ring, and there is only one solution left. Since he cannot shrink his own heart, he has no choice but to expand the mana ring. The next moment, he reaches out and grabs hold of the mana ring. Then he pulls with everything he has, forcing it outward. The struggle is immense, but compared to what he endured in his past life, this is nothing. He thinks back to those days, helplessly watching his patients disappear one by one, replaced only by a debt that kept climbing higher and higher. To make sure this life never ends up the same way, he gives it absolutely everything he has. And finally, he stretches the mana ring to several times its original size. His heart beats again. A notification appears. Due to his correct actions, the heart has fully recovered, and deep within his inner world, his heart is fully restored to life. Warm cheers and blessings pour in from all around. Thank heavens, it is finally safe. But he quickly notices something else. He has gained a mana tank. Is this like an inventory slot in a video game? He turns to Piero Gardan with an explanation. The discomfort just now was because it went down the wrong way. Nothing to worry about. But Piero Gardan is filled with guilt. He feels he should have tasted it first. If that's how you feel, then next time I'll brew something even more poisonous just for you. He then instructs Piero Gardan to sweep up the broken glass, and offers him his sincere thanks. If his instincts are right, then he has gained an ability beyond anything he ever imagined. With that thought, he sits cross-legged and opens the mana tank. It can store both physical matter and mana together, with a capacity of 10 liters per slot. Items are stored by consuming them. Water becomes the perfect test subject. Based on the median lethal dose, a person weighing 60 kilograms can safely consume a maximum of 5.4 liters of water. Given his own body weight, he can safely take in up to 3.9 liters. As he slowly drinks it down, the mana tank rises by 1 liter instantly. Seeing that it works, he goes ahead and drinks 10 full liters of water. The mana tank shoots straight up to 10 liters. He then tries releasing 0.1 liters, and it actually works. At this moment, he is like a camel in the desert, free to distribute the water inside his body however he chooses. But what if he stored a medicinal tonic instead? Would the results be any different? But he cannot expel that much water all at once. Doing so would kill him on the spot. So he thinks of using the Azrahan core energy. By channeling it through mana and and amplifying it, he can launch the water outward. As he focuses his mana, a sphere of water slowly takes shape. The next moment, it shoots straight toward a water bottle, but a loud bang rings out. The bottle explodes on the spot. Even the man himself is left frozen in shock. He had expected the water to flow in gently, like water from a tap. Somehow it turned into a water cannon. At the same time, the guards who heard the noise come rushing in. To avoid a scene, he claims he simply knocked the bottle over and broke it by accident. The guards instruct Piero Gardin to help the Crown Prince to the bedroom, while they take care of cleaning up. Shortly after Piero Gardin leaves, the man falls deep into thought. Mana flows from the heart, amplifies through the shoulders and arms, and is launched out through the palm of the hand. This power is extraordinary, but to truly master it, much more experimentation will be needed. Meanwhile, inside the imperial palace, Emperor Astrio has also caught wind of Raquel's bizarre recent behavior. A servant reports respectfully the Crown Prince has been stabbing himself with needles, ingesting poison, and acting completely out of character. The Emperor grits his teeth in frustration, utterly baffled by what the boy is up to. The next day, Raquel is busy in his chamber, brewing a pot of herbal medicine. He stares at the finished brew with satisfaction. 10 liters of Mahuang Fuzi Zixin decoction done. He turns to Garden and tells him to step outside for a moment. Raquel thinks to himself, if Garden sees him drain the whole pot, the poor guy will faint on the spot. He softens his tone and adds that he just needs a little privacy to take care of something. Garden looks worried and blurts out that Raquel is going to drink that harmful brew again. He pleads, last time nearly broke him, please don't do it again. Raquel waves it off, he just choked a little last time, it was nothing. Garden grabs his arm urgently. This is really worrying him. Raquel reassures him, it's just an experiment, he'll only have a small sip, he doesn't want to waste it. Garden is skeptical, really, just a tiny sip? Raquel shrugs with forced ease. Who in their right mind would chug 10 whole liters? Garden relaxes and nods, yeah, no sane person would ever do that. The moment those words leave Garden's mouth, Raquel's expression shifts completely. Without a word, he kicks Garden straight out the door. He slams it shut, sealing himself inside, and gets ready to drink. Raquel lifts the pot and murmurs, bottoms up. He ignores the bitter taste and starts chugging straight from the pot. A system alert pops up, showing the decoction level dropping from 10 liters, all the way down to 0. Every last drop gone. Raquel lets out a long, satisfied sigh. Now that hit the spot. All he has to do now is let the medicine work its way through his system. The system pings again. The Mahuang Fuzi Jixin decoction begins releasing at 0.1 liter. The next morning, Raquel wakes up to a flood of HP donation alerts from his own organs. System alert: heart is overjoyed, donates 100 HP. Lungs are jumping for joy, donate 200 HP. Large intestine is skipping rope with its sphincter, donates 100 HP. Current HP stands at 500, but Raquel knows it's nowhere near enough. Desperate to boost his stats, he starts chugging Mahuang Fuzi Jixin decoction like it's water. Eventually, the system sighs in defeat. His organs are completely sick of the stuff, and Raquel can't find a single other way to raise his HP. Until one day, while eating a meal, he suddenly gets a notification his lifespan has increased. System alert: expected lifespan extended by 50 days. Remaining lifespan 133 days. Raquel leaps up and screams, "It worked!" Pure, uncontrollable joy in his voice. The maid beside him is startled by the sudden outburst. The cup in her hands shatters on the floor. Raquel snaps back to reality and awkwardly apologizes. He didn't mean to scare her. The maid is trembling all over, frantically begging for forgiveness. Raquel watches her shake and thinks it's just a broken cup. Why is she this terrified? He gently tells her it's fine and asks if she's hurt, but the maid only panics more, apologizing over and over, swearing she'll never make the same mistake again. Please, she begs, don't cane her like last time. Raquel freezes. When did he ever cane her? He urgently asks her to tell him that never happened. She says it didn't, and Raquel exhales in relief. Then she adds he never caned her personally. That hits Raquel like a bolt of lightning. He immediately understands. He demands to know, did he order someone else to do it, and what had she done wrong? The maid stammers she accidentally splashed water on his sleeve. Raquel seethes inwardly. The original Raquel was absolute trash. With a hollow look, he tells her to clean up the broken cup and leave. He needs a moment alone. The maid thanks him with obvious relief and bolts out of the room like she's escaping prison. Raquel watches her go and mutters to himself, why the dramatic exit? He calls Garden over and admits his memory has been foggy lately. What kind of master does the staff think he is? Garden opens his mouth to say something flattering, but Raquel cuts him off. He warns him one word of flattery and he'll down the poison right here. Garden has no choice but to come clean. Normally, Raquel loves flogging the servants, loves slapping people across the face, and loves making people kneel. Raquel is horrified. He can't help but roar. What on earth was the original Raquel doing? No wonder everyone swallowed his ridiculous excuses. They already thought he was out of his mind. Raquel asks Garden, genuinely puzzled, why has he never been afraid of him? He points out Garden is the closest to him, so he should have suffered the most. Garden answers without hesitation because he believes in Raquel, and he knows who Raquel truly is. Garden recalls the real Raquel was kind-hearted. He once stood in the rain himself rather than let a baby chick get wet. He believes that once Raquel's illness is cured, his true self will come back, and lately that faith has been paying off little by little. Raquel is genuinely touched. He stands and asks, does seeing him change make Garden happy? Garden nods without a second thought. Of course it does. Raquel breaks into a warm smile and announces, generously, generously that Garden gets a loaf of bread as a reward. In his heart, he swears on his own name a solemn vow to the sky he will not let himself die. Just then, someone bursts through the door in a panic. The messenger breathlessly announces His Majesty the Emperor requests an audience with His Highness Crown Prince Raquel. Raquel straightens his robes, composes himself, and makes his way to the palace. He stands before Emperor Astrio and bows with perfect courtesy. Crown Prince Raquel Adrianoa pays his respects to the rightful sovereign of this land, Your Imperial Majesty. The Emperor takes one look at Raquel and his jaw drops. He can't believe it could this frail, sickly boy have actually mastered the Ezrahan heart method. But then he notices Raquel trembling from head to toe, and relaxes instantly, assuming he imagined it. Of course, the boy is simply terrified to be in his presence. In reality, Raquel's feet have just fallen completely asleep. The Emperor softens his tone and asks if life at the detached palace has been comfortable. Raquel hesitates before answering, and the Emperor immediately pivots, demanding to know about the self-harm and poison. Raquel's expression tightens as he scrambles for an explanation, but the Emperor cuts him off with a thundering rebuke. Raquel is a fool, unworthy of royal blood. He lectures as a direct heir of the imperial family. Raquel must never forget his dignity and conduct. If his body cannot bear the weight of the throne, then he should make the wise choice. Raquel scoffs internally. Sneaky old man, there's definitely an agenda here. And sure enough, the Emperor stops dancing around it and comes straight to the point. He orders Raquel to relinquish his title as Crown Prince to the second prince. Raquel almost laughs. So that's all this is. He thought it was something major. He meets the Emperor's gaze, respectful but unshakable. With all due respect, Your Majesty, I decline. The Emperor's face turns red. He can barely believe his ears. Raquel is refusing him. Raquel doesn't flinch. Yes, that's correct. He feels the Emperor's crushing pressure bearing down on him and tells himself, do not back down. He sees right through it. The Emperor clearly wants to strip him of his title. Raquel thinks technically, the Emperor doesn't even need his consent to replace him. This whole proposition is nothing more than theater, a pretty piece of political PR. The Emperor wants Raquel to step down willingly, giving the second prince a clean and legitimate claim. A flawless PR move for the royal family. Textbook stuff. Raquel thinks he's sickly, a disappointment, and yet he refuses to die on schedule. The Emperor must have been anxious about his existence for years. The Emperor puts on a mask of concern. Doesn't Raquel understand he's doing this for his own good? An empty title isn't worth clinging to. Raquel almost snorts. He doesn't even care about the title to begin with. Honestly, he'd love nothing more than to hand it over and spend his days eating and having fun. But he knows the truth. If the second prince takes the throne, this empire is doomed. Theodore may be praised as diligent and capable, but he's not built for an age of war. Put that quietly ambitious prince on the throne, and both the empire and the royal family are finished. Raquel rises to his feet and speaks with quiet conviction. He may be frail, but he has never forgotten what it means to be a prince. The title means nothing to him. His only concern is the empire and the royal family. Then Raquel puts forward a proposal. He asks for a chance, one competition between himself and the second prince, to prove who truly deserves the crown. Shortly after, Raquel returns to his own palace. Garden rushes over, anxious to know what the Emperor wanted. Raquel says it casually. The Emperor told him to hand the crown prince title to his brother. Garden goes pale. He's completely speechless. Raquel smiles and reassures him he already turned it down. And while he was at it, he challenged the second prince to a duel. He notices Garden moving around frantically and asks what he's doing. Garden, looking utterly defeated, says he's packing his bags to leave. Raquel grabs him, both furious and desperate. Just trust me. Meanwhile, the Emperor hears about Raquel's challenge and allows himself a quiet, satisfied smirk. He never expected Raquel to step forward and demand to prove himself. Surprising. The boy has some backbone after all. He decides to honor the proposal and arrange the competition. The day of the duel arrives quickly. The girls in the crowd swoon over the second prince, whispering among themselves, imagining just how handsome Theodore will look when he wins. Meanwhile, Raquel is quietly doing push-ups in the corner, warming up with total focus. Theodore approaches and says gently, there's no need to push himself. He already knows how this ends. Raquel stands and plays dumb. The result? You mean you winning? Theodore explains he assumed the whole point of this duel was to give him a clean path to the throne. That's what the Emperor told him, and that the outcome was never in question. He looks pained. The last thing he wants is to hurt Raquel at the cost of his health. Raquel scoffs internally. So both the Emperor and Theodore completely missed the point. Raquel waves Garden over and asks for a shield, his voice steady and firm. He takes it, turns to Theodore and says, I have no intention of losing. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Everyone thinks he's joking, that he hasn't got a chance. At that moment, the Emperor steps forward with commanding authority and announces the rules. This contest, he declares, is to determine who is most fit to inherit the imperial throne. The rules are simple. Raquel wins if he survives 5 minutes or knocks Theodore down. If he fails, the victory goes to second Prince Theodore. The Emperor raises his voice. Let the duel begin. The crowd erupts. Shockingly, Raquel immediately tosses his sword aside, abandoning offense altogether. Theodore looks confused. Is Raquel giving up? He privately admits he's a little relieved. Swinging a sword at a sickly person felt wrong. But then worry sets in. Surrendering in public like this could embarrass the royal family. A second later, Raquel raises his shield and drops into a defensive stance, ready to hold the line. Theodore understands Raquel's plan is to turtle up and run out the clock. Smart move. Theodore concedes, so he decides to end this quickly. Theodore activates his heart method, mana surging through every inch of his body, and brings his sword down hard at Raquel. The Emperor watches from the side, side, thinking to himself, even if Raquel blocks it, the shield will shatter. Theodore is genuinely worried. At the very least, let Raquel fall with dignity. He deliberately aimed low, hoping to spare Raquel from a humiliating collapse. But Raquel doesn't just block it, he doesn't even budge. Theodore stares in disbelief. How is this possible? The crowd explodes. Raquel blocked the second prince's strike. Someone shouts that Theodore must have held back. After all, he's always been too kind-hearted to seriously hurt the sickly crown prince. Theodore locks eyes with Raquel and realizes from the look in those eyes that block was no accident. But he still believes the outcome of this duel will not change. Theodore swings again, this time with no mercy, sharper, faster, fiercer. He pushes with everything he has. Raquel starts to buckle and gets forced back step by step. Raquel curses under his breath. His head is ringing like a bell and his wrists have gone completely numb. But he doesn't quit. He digs deep and pushes himself on. He thinks back to his days as a riot cop. He's been through far worse than this. Gritting his teeth, shield raised, Raquel charges straight at Theodore again. He keeps his eyes locked on Theodore and notices with quiet excitement that Theodore is drawing in far more mana than expected. The more mana Theodore absorbs, the better Raquel's odds become. Theodore's expression goes grim. He can't figure out how Raquel is still standing, but this will be his final strike. Theodore leaps into the air, gathering every ounce of power, and brings it crashing down onto Raquel's shield. Raquel holds firm. He silently thanks himself for all those brutal leg days he pushed through for exactly this moment, and for one other little trick he prepared in advance. Time to serve Theodore a special round of his homemade bomb shot. Raquel sets the release to 0.2 liters of bomb shot. The system executes immediately. The instant Theodore's blow lands, he unknowingly absorbs the released mana along with it. He lets out a sudden burp, sways on his feet, and looks completely drunk. Raquel grins to himself. He always knew Theodore was a lightweight. One round and he's done. Last night, he mixed a bomb shot from 20 different spirits and packed every last storage slot for exactly this moment. Theodore looks confused. Something slipped into his body through the mana when he struck the shield. His head is spinning and he has absolutely no idea what it was. Theodore fights to stay conscious, telling himself to hold it together. He has to knock Raquel down before the 5 minutes are up, then earn his father's approval and claim the throne to the cheers of the people. He genuinely believes this is the best outcome for the royal family, for the empire, and even for Raquel. He tells himself he will win this. Theodore fights through the dizziness and shouts across the arena, "Brother, here I come." With that, he surges forward with a renewed ferocity, bearing down on Raquel like a storm. Raquel barely holds the block and is genuinely surprised Theodore is somehow still fighting through the bomb shot. As the blows grow heavier, Raquel makes a snap decision. Time for round 2. He releases another 0.1 liters of bomb shot. Theodore absorbs the mana again. The dizziness surges and now he's hallucinating. In the haze, he finds himself standing inside a bar. He looks around, completely baffled. Where is he? In the vision, a bartender is mixing a drink right in front of him and slides it over with a smile. Compliments of the gentleman over there. Theodore follows the bartender's gesture, and the gentleman is none other than Raquel. He snaps out of it, face pale with shock. He can't believe he just hallucinated that. Raquel takes a slow breath, activates his heart method, and thinks time to sober him up. The system chimes in right on cue. Raquel is about to release the substance stored in his ring slot. He draws the energy into his palm and drives it straight into Theodore without hesitation. Theodore never sees it coming. He's sent flying through the air and crashes hard onto the ground. Dead silence falls over the arena. Every single person is frozen in shock. Even the emperor is stunned. His mind races. Was that truly the Asrahan heart method that Raquel just used? He can't make sense of it with so many different energies mixed together. At that distance, how is the mana ring resonance so precise? After a moment, Theodore slowly opens his eyes and finds Raquel kneading his foot. He blinks in confusion and quietly asks, "What is he doing?" Raquel doesn't look up. "Purging the impurities from your mana." Theodore presses, "Is this the Asrahan heart method? What exactly is going on?" Raquel answers flatly, "He just started using it late, that's all." Theodore's voice goes quiet. He admits it plainly, he lost. Then he suddenly jolts. There's blood running down Raquel's forehead. Raquel waves it off, probably hit the inside of his shield while blocking. Theodore feels a sharp pang of guilt. Raquel was fighting with everything he had. He's ashamed of how certain he was, how arrogant he must have looked. Raquel stands and asks casually, "How are you feeling?" Theodore looks down. "Ashamed of myself, honestly." Raquel sighs. "I meant your body. How does your body feel?" Theodore blinks, then quickly says, "Much better actually, surprisingly light." Raquel smiles with quiet pride. Of course it does. He just drained every drop of alcohol from Theodore's system. Theodore then drops to one knee, solemn and unhesitating, and before the emperor and the entire crowd, formally acknowledges his defeat at the hands of Crown Prince Raquel. The arena erupts. The crowd roars for Raquel's victory. Raquel checks his system panel and pumps his fist. Yes, it worked. A system alert pops up. Congratulations on successfully treating another person for the first time. Major achievement unlocked. The system announces a new skill, the treatment fee skill. Treating others extends his own expected lifespan at a ratio of 2,000 to 1. Raquel reads it and his heart soars. Then the system adds Theodore's expected lifespan was only extended by 0.5 days, below the threshold for settlement. Raquel deflates instantly. All that excitement for nothing, but he quickly pulls himself together. As long as he treats patients from here on out, he can extend his lifespan proportionally. He never has to spin his wheels again. He thinks back on all those sessions, chugging decoctions, suffering through acupuncture. All of it was like pouring water into a leaking barrel, pointless. A wave of relief washes over him. Those hopeless days are finally over. The emperor's voice cuts through sharply. Why isn't Raquel responding? He demands to know, did Raquel use the Asrahan heart method in that fight, and how on earth did he pull it off? Raquel bows respectfully. Yes, he did. But honestly, he's not entirely sure how. The emperor stares at him. He can't believe Raquel just said he doesn't know. Raquel maintains his bow. Truly, he doesn't understand it either. He thinks to himself, well, it was a skill he just suddenly picked up out of nowhere. The emperor is quiet for a moment. Then slowly, he speaks on the day Raquel was born. He personally engraved the heart method into him. Raquel bows low. "It is a profound honor, your majesty. I am deeply grateful." The emperor adds, but because of Raquel's frail constitution, he was never able to harness it. Raquel apologizes. He is sorry for failing to live up to his expectations. The emperor then praises him to have overcome a crisis like this. With a body as fragile as his, takes real courage. Raquel thanks him again. And the emperor announces Raquel won today. His title as crown prince will not be revoked. But he warns Raquel from now on, he will be watching his every single move. The emperor's voice is sharp and full of authority. Is that understood? Raquel calmly responds, and by the way, he's noticed the emperor has been neglecting his swordsmanship lately, too focused on state affairs. He advises that simply won't do. The emperor must keep his body active. He continues more vegetables, looser muscles, and ideally quit smoking. The emperor stares at him, speechless. "Are you seriously saying this to me right now?" Raquel's tone is completely sincere. This comes from genuine concern, not disrespect. On the way back, the emperor mutters to himself that boy used a lecture to dodge his question. Then his mind drifts back to the Azrahan heart method. Raquel deployed it far too recklessly. He worries with a body that weak, one wrong move could be fatal. But that also makes it clear just how desperately Raquel was fighting. He thinks back. Raquel lost his mother at birth and spent his entire life chained to illness. He had placed his hopes in the boy dozens of times and been let down hundreds. But the small flicker of hope Raquel showed today, it's shaken something in him. Meanwhile, inside the carriage, Raquel's thoughts drift to a memory: his father's stroke. That day, he had skipped class to hang out. By the time the call came, it was already too late. Raquel knows the emperor will also suffer a stroke early in the events of Demon Sword Emperor, right after his own death. He makes a silent vow he will not let that happen. Not just because the emperor needs to stay healthy, for the treatment fee skill to keep extending his life, but because he never wants to go through losing someone close to him again. Just then, Garden across from him suddenly bursts into tears. Through his sobs, he tells Raquel to ask him what kind of tears these are. Raquel sighs and plays along fine. "What kind of tears are they?" Garden answers immediately, voice cracking. "These are tears of genuine admiration." He cups his face and asks, "Was it really that hard on you?" Raquel gives him a tired but fond look. He appreciates it, truly, but he really needs to rest. He adds, starting tomorrow, there's a lot to get done. He needs to go see someone. The following evening, Raquel and Garden arrive at Sorrentino Garden, one of the 10 most renowned restaurants in the imperial capital. Garden looks puzzled and asks, why did they have to disguise themselves? He doesn't understand. They've barely sat down before a server approaches and politely asks if they're ready to order. Raquel orders pasta with no noodles and no sauce, paired with wine made from something other than grapes, and they'll be dining until dawn. The server nods, gestures for them to follow, and says there's somewhere he'd like to take them. Raquel and Garden fall into step behind him. The server pushes open a hidden door and points the way. Just head down the stairs. Garden's eyes go wide. He can't believe a restaurant has a hidden passage like this. He can't help but ask, what is this place? Why are they here? Raquel answers simply to earn a very generous treatment fee. He says plainly he needs to find someone here named Damien. This matters more than anything right now. With that, he pushes open a door and leads Garden out onto a balcony. They step to the railing and look down. Below them is a hidden arena completely concealed from the outside world. Raquel smiles, told you it was well hidden. He scans the area, muttering to himself, where is Damien? Garden points to a figure nearby and asks, is that him? His voice drops dramatically. That person looks absolutely terrifying. The presence alone is overwhelming. Raquel shakes his head firmly. That's not Damien. Just then, a door opens and someone walks in. Raquel's eyes light up. Finally, there he is. He thinks to himself, this is the true protagonist of this story, Damien Kane. The moment Damien enters, the arena erupts. The energy in the room ignites instantly. The announcer's voice booms, and now, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the main event. Damien is a sword prodigy blessed by a demon with pure talent. He debuted at 17, and within 3 months swept every fighter in the arena to claim the championship. And today, his opponent is a mountain troll. A massive creature lumbers into the arena, hideous face, overwhelming presence. Raquel goes still. An actual mountain troll. This is no joke. Garden is trembling. He grabs Raquel's arm. What kind of place is this? Using humans as troll feed? That's horrifying. Across the arena, the mountain troll advances, raising a colossal fist, and smashes it straight down at Damien. Damien sidesteps it effortlessly. Light as air, the blow hits nothing but ground. The troll doesn't stop. It hammers away with relentless fury, blow after blow. Damien drifts through every strike like water. The troll can't even graze the hem of his clothes. When the moment is right, Damien slowly draws his sword. The blade catches the light with a cold flash, and the atmosphere shifts completely. He faces the charging troll without a trace of fear. Then he swings clean and decisive, and splits the mountain troll clean in two with a single strike. The massive body crashes to the ground. All life leaves it instantly. The entire crowd is speechless, struck dumb by the sheer power of that single blow. A beat of silence, then the roar of the crowd shakes the walls. Everyone is on their feet for Damien. Raquel watches it all and thinks, quietly stunned, Damien is even stronger than he imagined. He's a monster, worthy of being the protagonist, every bit as powerful as the story said. Damien's swordsmanship rivals even Havel, the greatest swordsman in history. Raquel snaps Garden back to reality. Pull yourself together. We're going to find Damien. They've barely reached the door to Damien's restroom when a guard steps in front of them and demands to know who they are. Raquel produces a gold bar without a word. The guard's entire demeanor flips. He steps aside with a respectful bow. Raquel pushes the door open casually and announces himself, sorry to interrupt. Damien says nothing. He wipes the blood from his face in silence, radiating a cold, dangerous presence. Raquel walks over, legs slightly stiff, quietly telling himself, don't be scared, stay calm. He picks up a bottle bottle of medicine from nearby and shakes his head with exaggerated concern. You really shouldn't be using cheap painkillers like this. Damien finally speaks, eyes sharp and guarded. Who are you? Raquel smiles with an air of mystery. Someone you might need someday. Damien assumes he's a salesman and tells him flatly to get out, he already has enough medicine. Raquel tosses the bottle aside without a second glance. Cheap stuff like that won't do anything. In an instant, Damien draws his sword, his eyes filled with intent to kill. Raquel doesn't flinch. No amount of painkillers will ever fix that numbness at the back of your skull. He catches the flicker of surprise on Damien's face and thinks to himself the fish took the bait. He pulls out a projection device and gets ready to give Damien a proper lesson. Raquel launches and every single symptom starts at the base of the skull. He lays it out precisely. The pain spreads from the back of the head, down through the shoulders. Raquel presses on. You must be wondering how he figured all this out, right? He continues. At its worst, the pain shoots through the temples and spreads across the forehead and around the eyes. During an episode, goosebumps break out and cold sweat pours down. The pain comes in waves, crashing and receding, with the quiet spells giving nothing but false hope. Raquel states it plainly, relying on painkillers alone treats nothing. The root cause is still there. Damien's ears are practically bleeding from the non-stop talking. He thinks this man never shuts up. A murderous urge stirs in him. He genuinely considers ending this conversation permanently. Raquel wraps up and invites Damien to speak, so Damien finally asks, who exactly is this person? Raquel states it plainly, he's the Crown Prince. Damien feels completely played. He draws his sword and swings die. Raquel scrambles back. I was joking, I'm here on behalf of Kuzman. Damien's sword arm stills. He's not convinced, but he's listening. Raquel seizes the moment. Kuzman is the arena's broker. Kuzman mentioned that Damien has been unhappy with how his painkillers have been losing their effect. Lucky for him, he has a different solution, so here he is. He grins and asks, does that make him sound a little more trustworthy? Damien eyes him skeptically. Did he bring new medicine? Raquel shakes his head. No medicine. They're going straight to the source of the pain. He instructs Damien to take off his shirt and lie face down. He'll explain as he works. Damien has his doubts, but he complies, shirt off, lying down, waiting. Raquel casually asks, is he scared? Damien shoots back immediately, he's a warrior. Of course not. Raquel nods, satisfied, and takes out the moxa stone, ready to begin. He places the stone carefully on Damien's back. Raquel holds up the torch and asks if this is Damien's first time experiencing moxibustion, warning him it's going to hurt. Damien still looks completely unfazed, insisting he's a warrior and fears nothing. Then the moxa stone ignites. Pain explodes through his body, and Damien lets out a scream so raw it sounds like a pig at slaughter, loud enough for people outside to hear. Raquel can't help but tease him. Wasn't he just calling himself a warrior? What happened to that? He thinks to himself, it hurts, but Damien has to endure it. Raquel knows exactly why Damien can't leave the underground. It's because of the cursed brand on his back. The brand carries a curse. Whenever his blood circulation speeds up, it triggers intense, searing pain. So after every fight, Damien is left writhing in unbearable agony. To dull the pain, he has no choice but to borrow money from Kuzman for expensive painkillers, and to pay off the debt, he has to keep fighting the combat arena. A vicious cycle: fight, take pills, fight again with no way out. Raquel knows the only real solution is to burn away the cursed brand with extreme heat. Raquel can barely hide his glee, treating the greatest swordsman in history while pulling him onto his side at the same time. And on top of that, the treatment adds to his own lifespan, killing multiple birds with one stone. Raquel steps back and announces the treatment is over, telling Damien he can get up. A large red mark burns across Damien's back as he trembles and slowly rises to his feet. Raquel watches with satisfaction, confirming the cursed brand has been sufficiently heated. He asks proudly, doesn't it feel a lot better? Has the pain disappeared? Damien looks genuinely surprised. He says it doesn't hurt anymore. He feels completely refreshed. He admits it's been a very long time since he last felt this free. Raquel adds that it's not fully healed yet, a few more sessions will be needed. He instructs Damien, if blisters form, don't touch them. Avoid greasy food and don't overexert himself. Damien looks confused and asks what exactly don't overexert means. Raquel is exasperated. He calls Damien thick-skulled. It means no more fighting. Damien looks troubled, worried that Kuzman won't allow him to stop fighting. Raquel calmly reassures him even if Kuzman refuses, it doesn't matter. He has a plan. Damien finally lowers his guard and sincerely asks who Raquel really is. He just wants Raquel to at least tell him his real name. Raquel repeats it proudly. He already said it. He's the Crown Prince. Damien falls silent, clearly still not buying a word of it. Raquel says he understands Damien has his own reasons and reservations. Raquel doesn't bother explaining further. He simply tells Damien to listen carefully and follow his instructions. No matter what happens in the combat arena tonight, do not leave. Stay put. No questions. Raquel stresses only then will it be safe. Only then will the two of them be able to meet again. Damien is puzzled, but he kneels respectfully and agrees. On the way back, Garden can't hold it in. He asks Raquel what he's planning. He doesn't understand why Raquel treated Damien here, in a place that's neither safe nor legal. Garden admits he can't make sense of anything that happened tonight. Raquel tells him he'll understand soon enough, then orders him to find a tall man with a black ponytail and narrow eyes. Garden repeats the description, scans the room, and spots someone quickly. He whispers to Raquel that he thinks he's found the target. Raquel steps closer to look. The face matches what he had in mind. He decides to confirm it in person and walks straight over to sit across from Kuzman. Kuzman glares back, his eyes brimming with murderous intent. Raquel calmly asks if he's speaking with a Mr. Kuzman. Kuzman flatly denies it, says he doesn't know anyone by that name. Raquel presses on, surely he knows Damien. He states plainly that he wants to buy Damien Kane. He asks how much it would cost in total, including the painkiller debt and the contract buyout fee. Kuzman throws out an outrageous price, 90 billion margin, not a coin less. The kind of sum only a crown prince could afford. Raquel gives a light laugh and says what a coincidence he happens to be the crown prince. Kuzman bursts out laughing. He doesn't believe a word word of it. He mocks Raquel, saying if Raquel is the crown prince, then he must be the medicine-peddling prince. Raquel plays dumb and asks curiously what exactly would a medicine-peddling prince be called. Kuzman loses patience and tells Raquel to get lost if he's not buying. Raquel turns to leave. Kuzman watches him from behind, sizing him up. Kuzman figures Raquel must be a first-time visitor. He calls over one of his men and orders them to dig up Raquel's real identity. Find out whether he's a hunter or someone else's hired hand. If necessary, interrogate him directly. After that, dispose of him the usual way, chop him up and dump him in the river. An hour later, someone comes bursting in a panic startling Kuzman. Kuzman recognizes the man as Derry, the subordinate he just sent out covered in wounds and collapsing to the ground. Kuzman is stunned and urgently demands to know what happened to him. Right at that moment, Raquel storms in leading a squad of royal guards. He pulls off his wig, reveals the royal insignia, and his entire presence shifts. His men shout in unison, welcoming the crown prince on his undercover inspection. Kuzman is completely blindsided. He can't process what's happening in front of him. He's terrified. He can't believe royal guards have shown up here. Raquel declares his identity and orders a full sweep of the location on charges of attempted murder of the crown prince. He specifically instructs them, Kuzman must be captured. He cannot be allowed to escape. The royal guards respond as one and immediately move in, taking control of the entire floor. Garden is stunned. Everything has unfolded exactly as Raquel predicted. He thinks to himself his highness is like a completely different person from before. He never imagined his highness would personally take down an underground criminal organization. Garden feels a deep admiration. His highness truly cares about the safety of the empire. Meanwhile, Raquel claps his hands with a satisfied smile, happily pocketing a fresh lifespan reward. He calls out loudly, making a show of searching for the so-called medicine-peddling prince. Kuzman is scared out of his wits. He knows if he's caught, it's over. He bolts through the chaos, his mind spinning with confusion and panic. He can't wrap his head around it. How could Raquel actually be the crown prince? And why would the crown prince want to buy Damien? He jumps into the elevator, deciding to hide and wait for things to blow over. But the moment the elevator doors open, several swords are already pointed straight at his face. Kuzman is utterly hopeless. He can't figure out how the royal guards got here ahead of him. Raquel appears with a smug grin, saying he knew all along Kuzman would end up here. He then turns and collects his 500 margin winnings from a bet with Garden. Kuzman stares blankly, completely lost. Raquel smiles and says Kuzman could rack his brain all day and never figure out why. Raquel says plainly he's someone who takes medical fees very seriously. He emphasizes, nothing irritates him more than unpaid medical fees. He hates owing people, and he hates being owed. Kuzman is thoroughly confused. He has no idea what Raquel is talking about. Raquel points out that he asked about Damien's painkiller debt, and Kuzman rejected his goodwill. Kuzman flares up in fury, shouting that Raquel is talking complete nonsense, and pulls out two short blades, lunging at Raquel in a frenzy. He gets punched square in the face by a royal guard halfway there, and crashes to the ground in a heap. Raquel laughs quietly from behind the guard, completely at ease. The royal guard barks at Kuzman to settle down if he knows what's good for him. Kuzman pinches his nose. Seething, he knows he has no choice but to go all in. He bites down on the capsule hidden in his mouth. Kuzman calculates in 5 seconds, the capsule will rupture and release a toxic gas. The gas causes instant paralysis and in the worst case, death. His plan, spit it out, roll away to create distance, and cut Raquel down while he's incapacitated. Kuzman is convinced this is a flawless counterattack. He counts down silently, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Then Raquel suddenly clamps a hand over his mouth. Raquel smiles and asks, is Kuzman trying to spit something out? Raquel counts down the final numbers for him, and the capsule explodes right inside Kuzman's mouth. Kuzman's entire body goes numb. He fights to hold on to consciousness. He knows he'll be out cold within 3 minutes. He desperately tries to reach into his pocket for the antidote that could save his life. Raquel is faster. He slides his hand into Kuzman's pocket first, and pulls out the antidote vial. Raquel says smugly that Kuzman must be dying to know how he knew, but he's not going to say. Then, right in front of Kuzman, he opens the antidote vial. With Kuzman watching in desperate horror, Raquel drinks the antidote himself. Raquel wrinkles his nose and complains the antidote tastes incredibly bitter. Kuzman trembles with rage, desperate to snatch back his antidote. Raquel tosses the empty vial aside and says no, he can't just hand it over like that. After all, he needs to make someone sick before he can cure them. That's how he collects his medical fees. The system pings, the ring slot begins releasing a trace dose of medicine. Kuzman's body gives out. He starts foaming at the mouth and collapses to the ground. Raquel moves in with precision, locating the Shinshu point below the 5th thoracic spinous process. He presses down firmly on the acupoint. Kuzman jolts awake and spits out a mouthful of dark fluid. Raquel immediately administers the prepared antidote. He controls the dosage with precision, releasing just the right amount from the ring slot. Kuzman's body rapidly shifts from collapse to relief. The toxins are purged, and he is successfully brought back. The treatment fee skill activates. Raquel detoxifies Kuzman, and his lifespan extends dramatically. After the system tallies the result, Raquel gains 4 days of lifespan, bringing his total remaining lifespan to 118 days. Raquel cheers with excitement. He's finally earned a lifespan reward through treatment. He orders Kuzman to be taken away and detained, leaving him in the full custody of the royal guards. Raquel instructs everyone to clean up the scene, then prepares to return to the palace with Garden. Nearby, the royal guards are locked in a tense standoff with Damien and the other swordsmen. The royal guards are shaken to their core. They never expected these gladiator swordsmen to be this powerful. Raquel walks over and asks Damien, didn't he tell him to stay put? The moment the royal guards see Raquel, they immediately address him as Your Highness, the Crown Prince. Damien's eyes go wide with shock. He finally believes that Raquel really is the Crown Prince. Raquel smiles and asks, now, do you believe me? Damien silently sheathes his sword and drops every last trace of of his guard. The next day, Damien is trapped in another agonizing nightmare. The scene in the dream is identical to the day his mother died. Damien realizes with dread he's dreaming about the day he was abandoned all over again. In the dream, he is engulfed in despair, the painful memory of being left utterly alone in the world. Then a voice calls out to him. Damien is jolted awake and shoots upright in bed. Garden extends a hand with a smile, formally introducing himself to Damien as Piero Garden, the Crown Prince's personal physician. Damien shakes his hand and gives his own name, Damien Kane. Garden cuts the introduction short, urging Damien to get moving. The schedule today is packed. Soon the group arrives at the Moxibustion treatment room, where the gladiator swordsmen are already seated on their respective beds. Damien looks around with a puzzled expression and asks what this place is. Raquel says it's obviously a dedicated treatment room. One of the swordsmen asks in confusion, why is Raquel willing to treat them after pulling them out of the underground? Raquel thinks to himself he's not doing charity, he's here to earn lifespan. He figures the swordsmen are all young, treating them will yield a large amount of lifespan, but telling them the truth would just make him sound insane. So Raquel speaks plainly, there's no such thing as a free lunch. He's not here out of pure kindness. He tells everyone that he suffers from a serious illness, his body has never been in good shape. One of the swordsmen immediately raises his hand with enthusiasm, confirming yes, the entire empire knows His Highness has always been frail and sickly. Raquel makes a mental note to make that one hurt a little extra during treatment. He clears his throat and continues, none of the palace physicians have been able to cure him. No matter what treatments he tries, his condition keeps deteriorating. Raquel looks at Damien and asks if he's already figured out the point. Damien speaks slowly. He thinks Raquel wants to use them to test new treatments. Raquel nods exactly right. He then asks Damien, honestly, how did you feel after the treatment? Damien answers, honestly, the nerve pain has almost completely vanished. The other swordsmen hear this and think to themselves, if Damien can vouch for it, there's nothing to worry about. Raquel asks if anyone has concerns about the upcoming treatment. The room stays completely silent, everyone is willing. Raquel is privately thrilled and immediately orders everyone to remove their shirts and lie face down on the beds. The treatment room quickly fills with screams and the crackling sizzle of moxibustion. 6 days later, all the swordsmen have cursed brands flaring on their bodies, they're in misery. Raquel sees this and thinks this is bad. Vomiting, cold sweats, withdrawal symptoms are setting in. He knows these are withdrawal symptoms from painkiller addiction, they can no longer continue the moxibustion. But Damien is unusually quiet. Raquel walks over with a puzzled look and asks, isn't Damien feeling dizzy or unwell? Damien admits that yes, he does feel dizzy. Raquel presses further, nausea? Any urge to vomit? Damien says calmly yes, but he's been quietly enduring it. He just doesn't let it show. Raquel is inwardly stunned. This is literally the protagonist's plot armor doing its work. He thinks looks like he'll have to switch to a different treatment method. Raquel announces that today's session is over and sends everyone back to rest. He calls Sergio aside and tells him to stay behind for now. Raquel asks with concern, are the withdrawal symptoms making him feel terrible? Sergio insists he's fine, not wanting to be a burden. Raquel tells him to lie down, he clearly looks awful. Then Raquel produces an acupuncture needle. Raquel thinks to himself he's honestly not even sure if acupuncture will work. He decides to start with the foot Yangming's stomach meridian, selecting the Lidui point as the first target. But not long after inserting the needle, Sergio suddenly reaches out and clamps his hands around Raquel's throat with crushing force. He's lost all reason, pouring every last bit of strength into strangling Raquel to death. Just then, someone knocks Sergio out from behind, saving Raquel in the nick of time. Damien reaches out, his face full of worry, and asks if Raquel is alright. Raquel, still shaken, takes his hand and manages to say he's fine. Raquel thinks to himself it must be the withdrawal symptoms. That caused Sergio to lose control. He realizes that to eliminate the symptoms completely, he needs much finer needles. That same evening, Raquel receives a reply from the blacksmith. The blacksmith admits he can forge needles as thin as thread, but cannot guarantee consistent thickness. He says, unless it's a dwarf blacksmith, achieving perfection is simply impossible. Raquel is burning with urgency. The swordsman's withdrawal symptoms are worsening by the day. There's no time to waste. Just then, a system alert chimes. His internal organs have sensed his stress. The system notes that stress is the root of all illness and offers a suggestion to relieve it. Raquel's eyes light up. He immediately asks what the solution is. The system explains that accumulated HP can be used to unlock skills or summon a fantasy beast. The system introduces the custom gacha roll. Each roll costs 300 HP. Raquel doesn't hesitate for a second and confirms he wants to do the fantasy beast custom gacha roll. The system processes the roll and deducts 300 HP. Raquel immediately states his requirement. He needs a fantasy beast that can reliably supply fine needles. The system registers his request, and 3 different boxes appear before Raquel. Candidate 1 is a peculiar creature that feels happy precisely when it's bored. Candidate 2 is a steel dung launcher. Candidate 3 is a pooping cactus. The system warns once a choice is made, it cannot be changed. Choose carefully. Raquel figures one of the 3 is the jackpot. One is a normal prize and one is a complete dud. Raquel agonizes over the choice for a long time without deciding, until his own heart can't take the suspense anymore, and basically forces him to pick candidate 3, the pooping cactus. Raquel sweats with embarrassment but goes along with it anyway. The system confirms candidate 3, the pooping cactus, has been successfully selected. Raquel prays desperately that this one turns out to be the jackpot that meets his needs. The box slowly opens, and out pops a chubby little hedgehog. The system displays a guide. Feeding it sunflower seeds can alter the hedgehog's size. Red seeds cause it to grow gigantic for up to 12 hours. Blue seeds shrink it back down, must be fed before the giant form wears off. Little Spike possesses the infinite quill's skill. Any quill pulled out instantly regrows. The chestnut quill assault lets it transform and attack like a chestnut. And fire fire quills in 3 colors with different levels of force. Raquel tentatively asks can he pull out Little Spike's quills and use them. Little Spike responds cheerfully and says pulling out quills doesn't hurt at all. Raquel asks for 1 quill each in white, brown, and black. Little Spike fires out 3 quills in an instant. Raquel catches them and notes white is the standard quill. Brown has a spicy effect with a sharper sensation better suited for the swordsman. Little Spike lets out a string of sounds, and Raquel struggles to interpret what the black quill does. He fails and gets a very bad feeling about it. He decides to find someone to test the black quill another time. The needle problem is finally solved. Raquel happily declares that Little Spike is his companion from this day forward. In the treatment room, Garden spots Little Spike and stares in astonishment, asking what creature this is. Raquel has Little Spike say hello and casually gives it its name on the spot. Then he makes up a completely fabricated backstory for Little Spike he can't afford to reveal the system. Raquel passes the buck and tells Garden to ask Little Spike directly if he has questions. Garden is stunned on the inside. He recognizes this as one of the legendary, incredibly rare fantasy beasts. He thinks to himself, a fantasy beast bonds with only one master in its entire lifetime. They are extraordinarily precious. He absolutely cannot figure out how His Highness could have obtained one. When Sergio wakes up and sees Raquel, he immediately apologizes for what he did the day before. Raquel waves it off. Losing control under that kind of pain is completely understandable. But today, he's going to needle him again. Before Sergio can even process that, Raquel has already swiftly inserted the needles. Moving with practiced ease, he continues to treat the other swordsmen one by one. Soon, every swordsman in the treatment room has needles in place and not a single adverse reaction. The system chimes the treatment fee skill activates simultaneously for all 14 people. For treating the cursed brands, Raquel gains 80 days of lifespan in one go. The skill levels up, and the payout ratio increases slightly. Raquel is thrilled. He never imagined the treatment skill could actually level up. Damien is deeply puzzled. He can't figure out why their recovery is making Raquel this happy. Raquel looks at the status panel and thinks, the matter with the swordsman is settled. He quietly decides it's time to move on to the next phase of his plan. So a few days later, Raquel summons Damien privately and asks how he's been feeling since the treatments. Damien answers honestly there's still a faint tingling sensation in his body. Raquel announces that Damien no longer needs to undergo moxibustion treatment. He states clearly the moxibustion phase is officially complete. They are healed. Damien quickly bows, wanting to express his sincere gratitude, but Raquel holds up a hand to stop him. He asks Damien to hear him out first. Raquel says honestly that he has always admired Damien's talent with a blade. He then formally proposes he wants Damien to serve as his personal bodyguard. Raquel emphasizes if Damien stays, he will receive generous pay, full vacation leave, and a pension. Everything covered. Raquel knows full well that Damien is on the verge of breaking through to the Swordmaster realm. He knows that reaching this level triggers Swordmaster syndrome, and Damien's insomnia will become far worse than before. Raquel calculates treatment alone won't keep Damien close. The best approach is a mutually beneficial arrangement. Seeing Damien stay silent, Raquel quickly adds flexible working hours and housing allowance. Damien still doesn't budge, so Raquel pulls out the ultimate offer, 3 days off per week, an offer impossible to refuse. Before Damien can respond, all the swordsmen behind him burst forward and accept on the spot. They say bluntly they want the good pay, they want to repay the debt, and they want to protect the Crown Prince. Raquel doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. Turns out everyone is here for the benefits package, but he thinks honestly this is more straightforward. Better than people who talk up loyalty but nickel and dime you later. Raquel quietly reasons building a force that answers only to him will be very useful. After all, the royal guards are loyal to the emperor alone. Raquel makes the call on the spot. Everyone passes. They are now his special guard unit. He names the unit the Special Guard Unit, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. Raquel reflects the lifespan payout rate for group treatment is too low. Even if he cures someone of 100 years worth of illness, he only gets a little over 10 days back. He grumbles that with his frail body, he can't possibly go hunting for patients one by one. He needs to come up with a truly perfect solution. Meanwhile, Emperor Astrio receives word that Raquel has formed a private guard unit. A minister reports 14 swordsmen have been appointed as the Crown Prince's exclusive guards. The unit has been named the Special Guard Unit, tasked with the Crown Prince's personal protection, and the Crown Prince is paying them handsomely. The Emperor thinks his son, who spent years bedridden, has gone and built himself a private army. Things are getting more and more interesting. The minister continues. The Crown Prince has also gathered all the staff of the secondary palace and has been brutally stabbing them with needles. The Emperor looks thoroughly baffled. He has absolutely no idea what Raquel is doing. Back at Raquel's palace, acupuncture treatments are in full swing. The patients are covered in needles from head to toe. They look like hedgehogs themselves. Raquel calls out loudly, "Next!" Everyone scrambles forward at once, fighting to be next in line. A few days earlier, Raquel had opened a clinic right inside his own palace. In just a few short days, he has treated over 500 patients. But eventually, Raquel completely loses it and cries out, "Why is everyone so perfectly healthy?" He paces back and forth in agony. 500 patients, and he only gained 2 days of lifespan. Nowhere near enough. Then suddenly, his eyes light up like he's just hit on a brilliant idea. Garden promptly brings over a stack of survey forms, reporting that all 500 entries have been filled in. Garden reports that family background, age, and medical history have all been recorded as instructed. Raquel is secretly pleased. If the staff are healthy, he'll investigate their families instead. He's convinced that among this many family members, there has to be at least one seriously ill patient. Raquel flips through the surveys frantically, but finds no serious cases at all. He grows more and more frustrated. Raquel is on the verge of breaking down. Why are even the families so healthy? There are only about 10 surveys left. Damien suddenly speaks up. asking Raquel with a grave expression whether he sees patients as tools. The question leaves Raquel speechless, his expression visibly guilty. Damien continues, the way Raquel is acting, it looks like he's desperately hunting for people on the verge of death. Raquel has been completely called out. Garden quickly jumps in to defend Raquel, scolding Damien for speaking out of turn. Raquel quietly admits Damien wasn't wrong. Damien then turns around and defends Garden, saying Raquel shouldn't put a loyal servant in an awkward position. Garden keeps defending Raquel, refusing to let Damien show any disrespect. Raquel watches the back and forth with growing irritation and chases both of them out. He rubs his head in frustration. There are only 10 surveys left. Just then, one particular survey catches his full attention. It reads, my 8-year-old brother has convulsions every month. The symptoms look like possession. No cause has ever been found. Even the clergy were at a loss, offering nothing but prayers to drive away what they called an evil spirit. Raquel's eyes go wide, and he lets out an excited shout. He's finally found a patient he can treat. He summons the siblings immediately. The older sister arrives nervously, leading her little brother by the hand. Her voice trembles as she introduces her younger brother Giorgio. Raquel walks over, crouches down, and greets the little boy in a gentle tone. Giorgio responds nervously. It's his first time in the palace, and he's terrified to be standing before the crown prince. Raquel smiles and tells the boy to just call him Big Brother. He thinks to himself the best way to calm a young patient is candy. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a piece of candy, holding it out to the nervous boy. Giorgio's eyes light up at the sight of the candy, just as expected. Raquel smiles and holds it out, gently saying it's a gift for him. But to Raquel's surprise, Giorgio shrinks back in fear. He won't let Raquel touch him. Raquel pulls his hand back and gently asks why. Giorgio lowers his head and says quietly he's been cursed by an evil spirit, so he can't be touched. He adds with hurt in his voice. Everyone laughs at him for it. They all say he's a strange child. Raquel shakes his head softly and tells Giorgio seriously he is not strange at all. Giorgio starts describing his symptoms. Sometimes he suddenly feels very strange. His body goes cold. He says his whole body shakes and goes numb, and he gets the feeling of floating in the air before suddenly crashing down. Every time he comes back to consciousness, he feels completely drained and weak. Raquel listens and nods slowly. He already knows exactly what is wrong with this boy. He reaches out and gently hugs Giorgio, telling him softly even through all of that, he kept getting back up every time. That takes real courage. Giorgio chokes up and reminds Raquel not to touch him. He's been possessed by an evil spirit and might bring Raquel misfortune. Raquel quietly shakes his head, soothing Giorgio as he discreetly takes his pulse. He examines him covertly and determines this is epilepsy, triggered by irregular brainwave activity. Raquel confirms internally, this is what people commonly call the falling sickness. There is no evil spirit. Raquel looks Giorgio in the eye and tells him clearly he is simply sick, not strange, not possessed. He smiles and points out he's the crown prince. His word can be trusted. Giorgio is about to reply when his face goes pale. He says his body suddenly feels very strange. Raquel's heart tightens. He didn't expect an epilepsy episode to strike right now. Damien immediately draws his sword and tells Raquel to step back and stay safe. Raquel urgently stops him, saying loudly, this is not an evil spirit, it's a medical episode. He stresses the patient needs protection and care. Right now, the one suffering most is Giorgio. Raquel quickly orders Garden to bring a soft pillow immediately. Everyone carefully props Giorgio's head on the pillow. Garden asks should they wipe away the foam around his mouth. Raquel shakes his head immediately. Giorgio's jaw is clenched. A cloth shoved in could be accidentally swallowed. He explains there's nothing they can do to intervene right now. They must wait for the episode to pass naturally, then tend to him carefully. Raquel suddenly senses a flow of mana and immediately thinks of the Asrahan heart method. The method can sensitively trace mana flow equivalent to observing the circulation of energy within the body. It might just lead him to the source of the epilepsy. He activates the Asrahan heart method at once and focuses intently on the mana movement inside Giorgio's body. Raquel sees it clearly. The mana inside Giorgio is in complete chaos, surging wildly in every direction. He sharpens his focus, reminding himself an opportunity like this is incredibly rare. Raquel carefully traces through the body, confirming the locations of the spinal nerves and cranial nerves one by one. He fights through his own physical discomfort and wipes away cold sweat, determined to find the key. Raquel presses on, maintaining deep concentration, and finally locks onto the location of the vagus nerve. His heart surges with excitement. Confirmed. The vagus nerve is sending faulty signals, causing the episodes. Raquel immediately instructs everyone to drape a blanket gently over Giorgio and let him rest quietly. He tells them to keep the noise down, but before he can finish the sentence, cold sweat breaks out across his skin and his body goes limp. Raquel collapses forward, his last conscious thought being the treatment has a direction now. By evening, Raquel slowly opens his eyes, realizing he completely exhausted himself. He realizes he pushed the Asrahan heart method to its absolute limit. Raquel immediately asks Damien how Giorgio is doing. Damien replies that the boy woke up around dusk but looks exhausted and weak. Raquel nods with relief. An epilepsy episode takes a tremendous toll on the body. He gets out of bed, quietly marveling he never imagined the heart method could substitute for precise medical instruments in diagnosis. Raquel is certain the cause lies in the vagus nerve, and there is only one treatment that fits: vagus nerve stimulation. And the way to achieve it gets struck by lightning. Raquel immediately heads to the palace with Damien, searching for the court mage. He announces his identity and orders the guard to take him to Janatis's chamber. The royal guard wastes no time and leads Raquel straight there. Raquel arrives and pushes the door open without a moment's hesitation. Janatis, dressed in adorable pajamas, looks utterly surprised. He has no idea why Raquel would show up at this hour. Raquel gets straight to the point. There's an urgent matter, and he needs Janatis's help. He cuts straight to the point. He wants Janatas to hit his back with lightning magic. Janatas freezes. He can't believe what he just heard. He grumbles internally. His highness has changed, and somehow gotten even crazier than before. Janatas refuses outright. He can't bring himself to harm the Crown Prince. Raquel explains it's not harm, just a mild static level stimulation. A steady, precise discharge for 3 hours is all he needs. Janatas pulls a pained face. This request is asking way too much of him. Raquel lays on the flattery. That's exactly why only he can do it. Precise mana control is his specialty. He is, after all, the greatest mage in the entire empire. The words hit their mark. Deep down, Janatas actually wants to try, but he still hesitates. If something goes wrong, the consequences will fall on him. Raquel is quick to reassure him all responsibility falls on Raquel alone, no questions asked. He gestures toward Damien and the others. They'll serve as witnesses. Raquel looks him dead in the eye. He's not playing around, he's trying to save a child's life. Janatas finally gives in. He agrees to try. When does the treatment begin? Raquel doesn't hesitate for a second. Right now. He's already made up his mind he can't test this on the child first. He'll run the trial on himself. Janatas gets into position and asks if Raquel is ready. Raquel activates the Asrahan heart method and gives a nod. Janatas releases the spell immediately. A static level current surges straight into Raquel. Raquel is impressed. A court mage really is something else. The mana control is flawless. He immediately channels the heart method, absorbing the current and converting it into a stable therapeutic charge. He's buzzing with excitement. One session like this, and the results will last a lifetime. He thinks to himself the Asrahan heart method is a completely broken skill. The next day, Raquel's palace is buzzing with noise. The attendants are curious, what on earth is his highness up to this time? Word spreads that Raquel is looking for the biggest gossips in the palace, and everyone comes crowding in to watch the show. Raquel faces Yurjo and is upfront the treatment might sting a little, but he'll be as careful as he can. He smiles and points out that Yurjo was already pricked with a needle earlier, he just didn't notice. Raquel then signals Janatas to begin the next phase of the treatment. Janatas gives a nod and fires the lightning magic directly at Raquel. Raquel nods inwardly. Current absorption is going smoothly, and the conversion process is holding steady. He deliberately lets the crowd watch and talk. This whole spectacle is a walking advertisement for the clinic. Raquel sharpens his focus, ready to channel the processed current into Yurjo. He pinpoints the exact location of the vagus nerve and prepares to begin the final step. But Raquel's brow suddenly knits together. He senses an abnormal fluctuation in his mana. His stomach drops. The mana disruption is getting worse. It could blow at any moment. Yurjo asks weakly, how much longer does he have to hold on like this? Raquel's mind races. 3 minutes, tops, before the epilepsy strikes again. Worst case, it could go sideways within a single minute. He has to carve the corrective signal into the electrode before the seizure hits. He's panicking inside. Even at full power, the heart method needs 30 minutes to complete this. He considers stopping and resuming next time, but immediately rules it out. One seizure in public and the rumors will spiral out of control. So Raquel gives the order, triple the intensity of the lightning magic. Now, Janatas warns him tripling the power will put Raquel through tremendous pain. Raquel doesn't even blink. Pain doesn't matter when a life is on the line. Janatas says nothing more. He goes all out, unleashing the amplified lightning magic at full force. The pain tears through Raquel's already weakened body, but he has to absorb enough mana before the seizure hits. He locks onto the target in his mind. The final electrode placement is at the carotid artery. 5 seconds left on the clock. Raquel tears through the frayed nerve signals at blinding speed. Giorgio's body starts to convulse. A full seizure is seconds away. The crowd cries out in alarm. Raquel is frantically correcting the neural disruption with 4 seconds to spare. The final second ticks down. Raquel completes every last correction. The treatment works. Giorgio pulls back from the edge of convulsion and slowly returns to a normal, stable state. Raquel lets out a quiet breath and gently asks if Giorgio is feeling okay now. His sister is in shock. Every time before, he'd lose consciousness the moment a seizure started. That was way too close, Raquel thinks. A lingering numbness still pulses through his entire body. The system chimes. The Tier 2 treatment skill pays out 3 days added to his lifespan. Remaining lifespan 161 days. The system keeps going. The Asrahan heart method levels up, and the mana amplification rate jumps dramatically. The metal control's wood principle activates. His liver awakens and donates 300 HP to Raquel. The lungs, heart, and large intestine join in to celebrate, chipping in a combined 500 HP. The liver throws a bonus celebration and tosses in another 300 HP. Total HP 1,300. Giorgio speaks up, confused. He says he feels really strange right now. Raquel reassures him warmly there's nothing strange about him at all. Giorgio says that before, his vision would go black and his body would spiral out of control. But this time, none of that happened. Raquel gives him a firm promise that kind of suffering is never coming back. Giorgio can't believe it. His eyes go wide and bright as he asks if Raquel really means it. Raquel gives his word and even jokes that if he's lying, Giorgio can have his throne. That's all Giorgio needs to hear. He breaks into a grin and throws his arms around his sister. Raquel is quietly over the moon. The treatment worked, and the plan went off without a hitch. He scans the crowd of onlookers. This is exactly the kind of moment that will put the clinic on the map. Raquel cheers inside, come one, come all to the palace annex. He's going to cure his way to a long and prosperous life. The excitement doesn't last long. Dizziness hits Raquel hard, and the world begins to blur around him. Later, Raquel lies in bed and wakes up aching all over, with no idea how long he's been out. Garden hears him stir and chokes out the words Raquel is finally awake. Raquel manages a grin. He asks if they have nothing better to do than watch him sleep. Garden answers that they've been by his side the whole time. Everyone has been worried sick. Then Garden bursts into tears, saying he's been praying non-stop for Raquel to open his eyes. Raquel's chest tightens. He asks urgently what exactly happened. Damien tells him gravely, Raquel has been unconscious for 2 full days. Raquel's jaw drops. 2 whole days, he can barely believe it. Jonata steps forward next, looking absolutely miserable. Haggard and hollow-eyed, he asks Raquel how is he supposed to explain to the Emperor that the Crown Prince was knocked unconscious by lightning magic. Raquel gives an awkward laugh and quietly apologizes to Jonatas. Then he immediately thinks of Giorgio and asks how the boy is doing. Right on cue, Giorgio pops out from behind everyone, announcing loud and clear that he's perfectly fine. Raquel blinks. What is Giorgio doing here? Giorgio grins and explains he'd been begging Garden non-stop, until he was finally allowed to stay and wait. He pulls out a handmade gift, saying he wanted to deliver it to Raquel in person the moment he woke up. Raquel takes the necklace, and quietly feels a pang of guilt. He only saved Giorgio for the lifespan reward. Then Giorgio calls out to him with bright, earnest eyes. He has a dream. He says he wants to become someone great, someone who helps people, just like Raquel. Something warm stirs in Raquel's chest. He genuinely tells Giorgio the necklace is beautifully made. Giorgio beams with delight, and Raquel accepts the gift with both hands. Raquel tells him sincerely seeing Giorgio healthy again is already the best gift he could ask for. He clears his throat to hide his feelings, and says he's a little tired and could use more rest. Everyone bows respectfully and quietly files out, leaving Raquel to recover in peace. Giorgio waves goodbye, cheerfully promising they'll meet again soon. Raquel answers softly, watching everyone go, then absently runs his fingers over the necklace. He grumbles to himself, no gemstones, just plain string. Who in their right mind would actually wear this? And then, with the necklace still on, Raquel falls fast asleep and for once he dreams well. After resting up, Raquel launches a full-scale flyer campaign for the clinic. People on the streets stop in their tracks, eyeing the strange contents of the flyers with curiosity. The flyers list all kinds of treatments, with Raquel and Garden named as the ones in charge. Raquel is quietly confident word about the clinic must have spread by now. Garden steps up to remind him it's time to head to the palace annex and get ready for opening day. Raquel straightens up, energy surging back. Today's the grand opening of the palace annex Korean clinic. On the way there, Garden can't help himself. He asks where Raquel ever learned all of this medicine. He listed all the potions, the acupuncture for pain relief, all of it completely foreign to him. Garden admits he's been losing sleep, trying to wrap his head around the logic behind it all. His voice drops. Not understanding it makes him feel truly useless. Raquel feels for him. He knows exactly what that sense of helplessness feels like. Raquel goes quiet for a moment, then decides to come clean. He tells Garden that he's from another world. He explains that his name there was Li Han, not Crown Prince Raquel, just an ordinary man who made his living through medicine. That's how he knows all of this. Garden looks completely put out. He just bared his heart, and Raquel is still teasing him instead of being straight with him. Raquel just smiles and says that was his honest truth too. Garden says earnestly that he wants to become a better doctor. He wants to feel the same sense of fulfillment that Raquel feels. Raquel tells him sincerely he already is. He doesn't linger. He nudges Garden to get moving, there's work to do before opening. Raquel thinks quietly none of this would have been possible without Garden by his side. Then the nerves kick in. What if people are too intimidated by the palace to come in? The more he thinks about it, the more panicked he gets. His old trauma responses are threatening to flare up. He walks and prays with everything he has, please let the clinic be packed. He flings open a window, ready to bellow a grand welcome to the crowd. Outside, nobody. Not a single soul. The hope drains out of Raquel in an instant. He's blown it. He turns away, deflated, drowning in disappointment and embarrassment. Then Garden suddenly calls out to him and tells him to look down, below the palace. Raquel leans over and looks, and finds the entire base of the palace absolutely packed with people waiting to be seen. Raquel's heart soars. A grand opening really does make all the difference. He throws himself straight into consultations, questioning patients, writing prescriptions, moving at full speed. An attendant rushes up in a panic, asking what they're supposed to do. Raquel rattles off instructions without missing a beat, go around and check on the patients, find out where it hurts. Then he snaps at whoever is brewing the medicine, not like that, that's not how you do it. He frowns to himself. The care process is a complete mess. It's going to take serious time to build proper systems. The system chimes in. All those consultations have pushed the pulse reading skill up to Tier 2. Tier 2 pulse reading can generate a full diagnostic report and link directly with the organs for a deep level examination. Raquel blinks. He didn't expect all 5 organs to join in on a pulse reading. The organ consultation results come in fast. Heart and lungs are fine, the large intestine shows only mild constipation, but the liver cuts right to it. This old man has signs of hepatitis. He must stop drinking immediately. Raquel quietly asks for confirmation. Is the old man's liver really in that bad a shape? The liver fires back. It's been processing alcohol at maximum overload for 50 straight years. Raquel is blown away. The organ diagnostics are frighteningly accurate. He needs to wake up the rest of his dormant organs as soon as possible. Raquel looks the old man in the eye. His liver function is severely damaged. He'll prescribe a 10-day course of medicine. Raquel is dead serious starting today, not a single drop of alcohol. He lays it out plainly, if the old man keeps drinking, he likely won't survive another 5 years. The old man grimaces. He admits that without alcohol, he simply can't eat. Raquel switches modes on the spot. Speaking as Crown Prince, he issues a royal decree, break this order, and it's straight to prison. As evening falls, Raquel calls it consultations for the day are over. Non-urgent patients will be seen tomorrow. The attendants gather around around checking in and worrying that they didn't do a good enough job. Raquel puts on a warm smile he doesn't quite feel. He tells them they all did great and to keep it up tomorrow. In truth, he's already missing his old colleagues back home. Just then, Garden comes running in a panic. A critical patient has arrived. It's the eldest son of the Dallaire family. He begs Raquel to save his mother. Once the patient is settled, Raquel asks exactly when the fever first started. The family says she had chills from late afternoon. By nightfall, the fever was raging. Raquel reaches out and takes her pulse, and his expression drops. He recognizes it immediately. This is typhus. He's stunned. This was the very disease that devastated Napoleon's armies, the one that had consumed hundreds of thousands of soldiers. This is one of the most dangerous infectious diseases in history. Raquel checks internally with his liver. Is the diagnosis absolutely certain? The liver confirms without hesitation. It has spotted the Rickettsia bacteria directly in the patient's blood. Raquel asks the family when did the patient last bathe. They answer that she bathes every single day in hot boiled water. Raquel frowns. Someone with daily hygiene habits, how did she end up with this? He asks another question, has the patient been anywhere near lice or fleas recently? The family thinks back and nods quickly. About 2 weeks ago, during a journey, they stopped overnight at a farmhouse. The farmhouse couple gave up their bed for her to sleep in for the whole night. Raquel runs the math in his head. She fell ill today 2 weeks ago lines up exactly with the incubation period. He locks it in. Every symptom, every detail of the timeline, it all fits typhus perfectly. Raquel tells the family plainly she was infected during that night at the farmhouse. The family looks completely blank. They have no idea what infected even means. Raquel gives them the short version: she has typhus, a disease spread through the bite of body lice, and it is extremely dangerous. The patient is elderly and has been running a high fever. Her condition is already critical. Raquel gives his orders: strip all her clothing, wipe her down with warm water, then dress her in a clean patient gown. Someone asks what to do with the clothes they've removed. Raquel's voice goes sharp: burn every piece of clothing and all the bedding. No exceptions. Everyone who handles the materials must bathe afterward and burn their own clothes as well. Anyone who disobeys will be dismissed and held accountable. The room snaps to attention. Everyone agrees at once. Raquel turns to the family and tells them to send someone home to pass along the same instructions. Within moments, everyone splits up and moves out according to his orders. Raquel gets to work on the medicine. He decides on Gegan decoction, the right formula for an acute heat-type illness. It's a powerful fever-reducing and pain-relieving formula built on ephedra and kudzu root. Raquel administers the medicine himself, helping her drink it slowly to ease the burning fever. He then assigns 3 attendants, around the clock, rotating in shifts to keep watch over the patient. But 3 days pass with no improvement. The fever rages on, draining her strength with every hour. Raquel knows the Gegan decoction alone isn't going to be enough. The patient's yin-yang balance has completely collapsed, with the yin energy suffering severe damage. The priority is restoring that balance. Only then will the decoction be able to do its job. He urgently needs a rare and potent ingredient, something capable of powerfully replenishing yin energy. But even the organs draw a blank at the critical moment. Then it hits him: the Imperial Secret Vault, where rare treasures are kept. He calls out to Garden at once: get the carriage ready. They're leaving now. The Imperial Secret Vault holds rare artifacts and magical items from across the world. It's his only shot. No one but the Emperor can enter freely. The procedures are incredibly strict. But Raquel is the Crown Prince. He has just enough authority to make this work. Raquel goes straight to the Emperor and presents himself formally as the Crown Prince. The Emperor is caught off guard. Why is Raquel showing up in the middle of the night? Raquel gets straight to the point: he needs access to the Imperial Secret Vault tonight. There's a critically ill patient who needs a specific ingredient. The Emperor presses him: what does that have to do with the vault? Raquel answers plainly: the vault has something that can save her. The Emperor replies coolly. He doesn't sense any sincerity from Raquel. He says flatly that Raquel is using the patient as an excuse to sneak into the vault. But internally, the Emperor is smiling. He's quietly pleased by how much Raquel has changed. Raquel groans inwardly. The Emperor is clearly baiting him on purpose. He stands up, urgent and impatient. Every second counts. The patient is teetering on the edge of life and death. The Emperor responds coldly: prove it. Show him that the diagnosis is correct. The Emperor points out that Raquel has spent years bedridden, with no formal medical training. He doesn't buy that Raquel has suddenly mastered advanced medicine out of nowhere. Raquel takes a slow, steady breath, and realizes this is a test. The Emperor wants to see what he's capable of. The Emperor makes it plain: a simple test. Diagnose the Royal Guard captain's condition correctly, and Raquel gets access to the vault. He adds with confidence: there's no way Raquel can figure out the captain's real condition. Raquel steps forward and takes the captain's pulse. The Emperor is privately smug. This is a secret known to only a handful of people. But just seconds later, Raquel announces it outright: the Royal Guard captain has circular alopecia. The Emperor and the captain both freeze. The entire room goes dead silent. The Emperor scrambles, but the captain's hair looks full and healthy. Raquel answers by reaching over and pulling off the captain's wig, because he's been wearing one this whole time. The truth laid bare, the captain breaks down and bursts into tears on the spot. Through his tears, he seethes internally: what a pair of absolutely awful father and son. The room is left with one devastated captain and one Emperor who just lost his own bet. Raquel doesn't stick around. He waves Damien over, pushes open the door, and walks out. Damien, who heard every word, mutters under his breath: ripping off a man's wig like that is just cruel. Raquel waves it off. He'll treat the captain's hair loss later. Right now, saving a life comes first. The two of them arrive at their destination. Raquel stares at the Imperial Secret Vault and feels a rush of anticipation. The guards bow respectfully and welcome Crown Prince Raquel. A guard hands him the access badge required for entering and exiting the vault. Raquel takes it and casually asks what happens if someone goes in without it. The guard explains gravely every defensive spell in the vault activates automatically, and the badge carries a strict time limit for each visit. If anyone overstays their permitted time, they will die inside. The guard informs him his access expires at dawn. Raquel's eyes go wide. That's almost no time at all. There's no way he can search the place properly. He pulls Damien along and hurries inside. A guard quickly calls out, "The area ahead is restricted to high-level clearance only." Raquel stops short and apologizes awkwardly. He just wandered the wrong way by accident. Internally, they actually caught that. He remembers what the Emperor said, low-level zone access only, and he may take just one item. Raquel is quietly irritated. He jumped through every hoop, and this is all he gets. He grumbles internally the Emperor is impossibly stingy. This barely counts as a reward. He makes a private vow he's never visiting the Emperor again, unless absolutely forced to. And so, badge in hand, Raquel steps into the low-level section of the Imperial Secret Vault. The interior is far larger than he expected. Raquel is stunned. He could spend the whole night in here and still not cover everything. He tells Damien to split up and start searching from opposite ends. Damien asks what they're looking for. Raquel is clear anything with ice or cold properties. Frost-type items, reagents, magic stones, anything that fits goes on the list. He tells Damien to note the location so they can review everything together afterward. They divide the zone in half and take one side each, moving fast through their respective areas. As he searches, Raquel keeps reminding himself this is only the low-level section. He covers his half and comes up empty. Nothing of real use stands out. He worries quietly Damien's side is probably just as bare. They regroup. Raquel asks about the results. Damien gives a slow nod. Raquel looks over the list and goes silent. One whole vault, and only a single frost-type item to show for it. The item is called Myriad Year Snow, classified as a shield. Low tier, low origin. Function, inject mana to deploy a frost shield. Shatters upon taking a heavy blow. Raquel stares at it. It looks like a restaurant pager, but he has no other options. He'll have to test it and see. He follows the instructions and channels his mana into the shield. The frost shield expands successfully. It's enormous in size, but shockingly light, like holding nothing at all. The intense cold radiating from it tells Raquel everything he needs to know. This will work on Lady Delaire. He calls Damien over immediately. He's going to need his help again. Moments later, a guard spots Damien walking out. The guard steps forward and asks which item he's taking. The guard assumes Damien means the sword at his hip. Raquel walks out right at that moment and demands to know what Damien thinks he's doing. He tells Damien he is deeply disappointed in him. "Just this little?" says Raquel, dripping in stolen jewels, himself bold as brass. The guard sighs and tells Raquel to put back everything on his person as well. Back at the palace, Garden stirs in the middle of the night. He glances out a window and spots the two of them talking in the distance. Garden feels a quiet warmth. Raquel and Damien have been getting along so well lately. He used to think Damien was blunt and inflexible, but his opinion has shifted considerably. He can see now that Damien has been silently standing guard by Raquel's side through everything. Raquel spent so many years bedridden as a child. Having a friend like this is something truly rare. Garden decides quietly he can afford to trust Damien a little more from now on. Then in the very next moment, Damien draws his sword and swings it hard at Raquel. Garden nearly jumps out of his skin. He screams at the top of his lungs someone is committing treason. A few minutes earlier, Raquel had told Damien to listen very carefully to every word he was about to say. Damien steeled himself. If it's for saving a life, he'll follow the order no matter what. Then Raquel said it, swing the sword and strike him directly. Damien's mind goes completely blank. Has Raquel actually lost his mind? He asks in alarm, is His Highness trying to frame him for treason to get rid of him? Raquel explains quickly he needs to hit the shield, not him. That's how they get the ingredient to save Lady Delaire. Do this right, and the clinic survives. The royal family and everyone else can coexist in peace. The plan is to collect the frost crystals released when the shield shatters and use them as medicine. Damien asks the obvious question, can't they just set the shield on the ground and hit it? Raquel shakes his head immediately. The moment his mana connection is cut, the shield vanishes instantly. To keep the shield active, he has to channel mana into it without stopping. Damien gets it now. He has to control his strike, precisely break the shield without touching Raquel. Raquel nods with excitement. Exactly right. That's the whole trick. Damien is deeply uncomfortable. Swinging a sword at the Crown Prince is considered an act of treason, so he's going to need extra pay, hazard pay, per swing. Raquel stares at him. He's seriously negotiating his rate per strike right now. Damien is perfectly calm about it. He respects His Highness, but a man still has to get paid. Raquel suddenly understands. So much of Damien's misfortune in life traces back to money. He recalls the original story. Damien was always an unexpectedly penny-pinching miser. With that in mind, Raquel agrees on the spot. One swing, 1 day's wages. Raquel deploys the frost shield, and Damien draws his sword, already demanding prompt payment. Damien swings, and Garden outside the window sees every bit of it. Garden faints on the spot. In his mind, Damien has just committed full-blown regicide. The blow lands, the shield holds without a scratch, but the impact rattles painfully through Raquel's hands. Damien raises his sword again. Clearly that wasn't hard enough. Raquel braces himself and tells Damien to just get on with it. Damien obliges and swings again. Blow after blow, more than a dozen strikes in. The shield still hasn't cracked, but Raquel's hands are completely numb and throbbing. Raquel snaps at him. He's holding back on purpose just to rack up more pay. So Damien decides to stop holding back. He puts everything behind the next swing and brings it down on the frost shield with full force. The shield explodes apart. Frost crystals scatter in every every direction, glittering through the air in a breathtaking display. Raquel shouts in triumph. He can already picture a long, wealthy life as royalty. He turns to call Damien over to collect the crystals, and spots Guardian unconscious on the ground outside. Raquel gets to work right away brewing the medicine. He starts with kudzu root, ephedra, red dates, peony blossom, licorice root, fresh ginger, and cinnamon twig as the base. Then he adds the frost crystals, pushing into completely new territory with the formula. The system chimes. This bold experiment has unlocked a brand new skill, herbal brewing. The organs pitch in to help complete the formula, and the liver asks whether to activate a full ingredient analysis. Raquel confirms without a second thought. The ice-gagging decoction data populates a deep brown liquid that replenishes fluids and breaks fevers. Raquel is thrilled. With this skill, he doesn't have to test things on himself anymore. His confidence surges. He's certain that once Lady Dallaire drinks this, she will recover. Raquel carries the medicine to the patient's room himself and asks for an update on her condition. Dallaire's eldest son answers helplessly, she still has no energy. She looks even weaker than before. Raquel tightens his grip on the bowl and prays this has to work. He feeds it to her himself, telling her it tastes bitter but it will cure her. In the days that follow, Raquel manages the care schedule, while keeping a close eye on her condition. He brews the decoction on schedule every day, supervising every step without a moment of slack. 10 days pass, and the attendants are completely changed. They look at Raquel with deep respect and gratitude. None of them can believe it. The Crown Prince, mixing medicine and feeding patients with his own hands. Garden is moved as well. He says he believed in Raquel from the very beginning. Raquel, meanwhile, is running on empty. He's cheering himself on in silence just to keep going. Exhausted as he is, he grinds through it all. The reward at the end is too good to give up. Finally, the system chimes. The ice-gagging decoction has cured the typhus. Task complete. A praise bonus is added to the treatment reward. Tier 2 treatment fee collection is now 1.5 times the standard rate. Raquel lights up. So that's how it works. Earning genuine respect and admiration doubles the lifespan reward. He smiles to himself. He'll just have to keep letting everyone believe in that wonderful version of him. On the carriage ride back to send Lady Dallaire home, Raquel reflects running this clinic alone is simply too draining. He knows exactly what he needs now: trained nursing staff as soon as possible. When they arrive, the fully recovered Lady Dallaire thanks Raquel over and over for saving her life. Raquel smiles warmly on the outside. Inside, he's quietly delighted by everything this treatment has earned him. He tells her with a smile seeing her recover is more than enough for him. Everyone around them is touched. Their admiration for Raquel climbs even higher. Lady Dallaire is about to say her farewells when Raquel suddenly calls out to her son. He has something to discuss. Dallaire's eldest son looks completely puzzled. Why would the Crown Prince pull him aside? The moment they're both seated in the carriage, Raquel immediately lets out a long sigh. He complains, looking thoroughly pitiful. His whole body is in agony, and he hasn't had a proper night's sleep in days. Dallaire's eldest son immediately speaks up. He wants to offer Raquel something as a token of gratitude for everything. Raquel says seriously that medical fees or free charging patients would damage the clinic's reputation. Seeing that Dallaire's eldest son still insists on repaying the Crown Prince in his own way, Raquel lights up immediately. Remembering that the man is a painter, a new idea starts to form. He extends an invitation asking Dallaire's eldest son to collaborate with him on something. A few days later, an art exhibition featuring Dallaire's eldest son officially opens in the territory. Word spreads fast and crowds pour in from all over. Everyone gathers to admire the displayed paintings. Raquel steps forward to congratulate Dallaire's eldest son on his debut as a professional painter. But Raquel notices something: the man doesn't look happy at all. Dallaire's son opens his mouth, then stops himself. Turns out every single painting in this exhibition was requested by Raquel himself, and every piece features a heavily touched-up portrait of Raquel, so idealized it looks nothing like him. This feels like straight-up false advertising. Raquel waves it off without a care. That's just how editing works, he says. He's confident that paintings, this imposing, will definitely draw everyone's attention. In reality, the crowd stares at the paintings with nothing but confusion. They only came because admission was free. Then everyone notices the sign posted nearby. It announces the Angel in White Challenge. The sign says, "Becoming a nurse brings deep fulfillment, and the Crown Prince personally guarantees excellent pay." Within moments, the registration booth is completely overwhelmed with people. Raquel watches from the side, silently bursting with pride. Damien sighs and asks if Raquel is really that pleased with himself. Raquel answers without hesitation, of course he is. In his mind, finding talented staff means expanding treatments and earning more lifespan. Then he says out loud, "How could I not be happy when my patients are getting better?" Damien quietly admits the Crown Prince's vision is remarkable, and the salary he's offering is extraordinary. 6 days later, the Angel in White Challenge venue is packed beyond capacity. The host announces loudly that the first test of the nursing selection is about to begin. The Crown Prince's Angel in White Challenge, and the very first task is a surprise race to the interview venue. Contestants are divided into groups of 50, with 5 groups in total. Everyone starts from the same spot and sprints toward the palace annex, racing against the clock for a limited number of spots. Only the top 10 from each group advance to the interview. Everyone else is eliminated on the spot. The starting signal fires for Group 1. Every contestant charges forward like their life depends on it. The first round wraps up, and 10 provisional qualifiers are selected. Garden addresses the remaining contestants. "Thank you all for making it to the interview venue." But the second round begins immediately. The second task, from 6 herbal medicines laid out on the table, identify the one that was improperly stored and has gone bad. Halfway through the test, one of the contestants suddenly collapses to the floor. The others hesitate, every one of them too worried about their own scores to act. A few struggle internally, wanting to help, but in the end, they all choose to keep their eyes on the test. Raquel watches every moment of this. His expression darkens. He is furious. He signals Garden to stop the test and declares the exam over. Garden steps forward and says, "We've seen everything we need to see. Results will be announced separately." One by one, the contestants leave. Not a single person looks back at the figure still lying on the ground. Once everyone is gone, Raquel finally looks at the person on the floor and says, "You can get up now." The figure stands up immediately. It's Damien, who had been posing as a contestant all along. Damien lets out a breath of relief. Thankfully, the act fooled everyone. Raquel immediately criticizes him. The way he fell was way too dramatic. He almost blew the whole thing. Raquel then demonstrates the proper way to fake a collapse. First a hand in pain, then a throbbing head, a cramping stomach, and finally, drop to the ground and spit up blood. That's what makes it convincing. Damien nods along, then asks curiously what happens to the 9 people who passed the first round. Raquel's answer is blunt. All eliminated. Skills can be trained, character cannot. Fail the character check and you're out. It hits Damien, character matters more than ability. Raquel nods. For medical staff especially, a good heart always comes first. The testing continues. Group 2 0 qualifiers. Group 3 still 0. Group 4's results come in 0 again. Raquel is completely stunned. He can't believe not a single person was willing to help. Deflated, he steps outside with Damien to clear his head. Raquel thinks to himself, disheartened, looks like finding the right nurses this time is a lost cause. Just then, a fierce argument erupts nearby and pulls his attention. A soldier shouts harshly, declaring that the person in front of him is not even human. A young woman fires back she is an imperial citizen, plain and simple. Raquel's blood boils. They're already this desperate for staff, and someone is still pulling this kind of discrimination? Damien quietly points out the girl is actually a werewolf. Raquel blinks. But there's no tail showing? Damien explains that she's wearing loose trousers, that's why it isn't visible. Raquel pauses for a moment, then his mind starts racing. Werewolves have extraordinary transformation abilities, incredible physical strength, and a superhuman sense of smell. This girl is practically born to be a nurse. The girl stands tall and makes her point clearly. She is protected under imperial law and has every right to apply. The soldier sneers, saying that sooner or later, her kind will lose control and turn into terrifying beasts. The girl grits her teeth. That's nothing but an outsider's prejudice. She insists with everything she has she would never let herself lose control like that. The soldier pushes even further, taunting her, saying she's glaring at him with beast eyes right now. Raquel has heard enough. He strides forward and shouts, "Enough!" He states clearly the recruitment rules say all residents of the imperial capital are eligible to apply. Werewolves are legal residents. They have every right to take this exam, same as anyone else. The soldier's face drains of color. He lowers his head and immediately apologizes to Raquel. Raquel says evenly, "The one you should be apologizing to is her." Raquel offers his own apology on the soldier's behalf and the girl bows in return, introducing herself Anis. Without missing a beat, Raquel decides to start her test right then and there. He's blunt about it. Werewolves are supposed to have exceptional stamina, but he wants to see it with his own eyes. If she can beat this soldier in a race, she passes the first test. From here to the fountain and back roughly 400 meters. Whoever returns first wins. Anis meets his gaze without flinching. She agrees immediately and says she's ready to go. The soldier has already removed his armor and is ready to race. Raquel calls out, "On your marks, the race is about to begin." The signal fires, and Anis shoots forward like an arrow released from a bow. She leaves the soldier far behind in an instant, moving so fast that even Raquel is left staring in disbelief. In no time, Anis reaches the fountain. She grabs the fountain pillar with a firm, steady grip, swings herself neatly around it, and lands lightly on her feet. Then she's off again, sprinting back at full speed. By now, the soldier hasn't even reached the fountain. The gap between them is absurd. They pass each other going in opposite directions. Anis is certain this race is hers. The soldier sees just how far behind he is, and his composure completely shatters. Panic sets in. In his desperation, his footwork falls apart, his ankle twists sharply, and he crashes hard to the ground, writhing in pain. Anis hears the commotion. She turns to look and sees the soldier down on the ground. His shoulder looks dislocated. As much as she hates giving up the win, Anis turns and rushes toward him. She had wanted to crush him with sheer ability, and now it comes down to this. She reaches him quickly, grabs his shoulder firmly with both hands, and twists it hard. The soldier screams in agony, his cry echoing across the empty grounds. Raquel rushes over and shouts, "That's exactly what I was looking for." He pulls out a wooden necklace and eagerly invites Anis to join his team. Raquel leads Anis to the reception room to go over the details of their arrangement. He hands over an employment contract and asks her to read through every term carefully. Anis flips through it and admits the contents are a bit complicated. Raquel reassures her immediately, no need to rush. Take all the time she needs. Raquel watches quietly, genuinely impressed. Her athletic instincts are off the charts, and her character, absolutely impeccable. But he also can't help noticing she helped the soldier, sure, but her method nearly killed him with pain. There will definitely be some difficult patients at the clinic in the future. This is going to be incredibly entertaining. He finds himself wishing there were more people just like Anis. She's practically perfect. Raquel leans in and eagerly asks what she thinks of the contract terms. Anis says the contract extract looks good, but she does have a few additional conditions to add. Raquel is caught off guard and immediately asks what those conditions are. Anis comes clean. She is actually the leader of a tribe of roughly 50 people. Raquel's jaw drops. He can't believe a talent like Anis comes with 50 more behind her. He turns up the charm immediately. Why didn't you mention this sooner? He's absolutely elated. A team of 50 S-rank nurses, this is an absolute godsend. Anis states her first condition. She wants her tribe members to be allowed to take the nursing exam as well. She continues, she also hopes Raquel can help resolve a problem her people have had since birth. Raquel blinks. A problem since birth? Are you talking about food shortage? Anis explains that because of this problem, her people have spent their lives enduring all kinds of discrimination and unfair treatment, and the problem they were born with is their tails. She explains that the tails move on their own, completely out of their control. Raquel tilts his head. Isn't that kind of fascinating though? Anis explains seriously the tail betrays every emotion. Happy and it wags, sad and it droops. It clicks for Raquel, so that's why she wears loose trousers. She's been hiding her tail this whole time. He asks, what about tying it down to the leg? Would that hide the emotions? Anis shakes her head helplessly. The tail breaks free on its own. Raquel suggests why not just cut it off then? Anis tells him her people have tried. Cutting it off leaves them unable to walk properly. And on top of that, it grows back within a month. Raquel bursts out laughing. It's just like lizard tail regeneration. He finds it absolutely fascinating. Then he goes quiet. His heart sinks. Wait, is he actually being asked to treat a tail? He panics internally. If he can't fix the tail problem, he loses the S-rank nurses. The pressure is immense. And in his entire life, he has never once treated a tail. He has absolutely no idea where to start. So Raquel proposes an alternative. He'll become the official social guardian of their tribe. With his rank and authority, he'll be the strongest backing they could ever have. Anis politely declines. She can't accept that. If something were to happen to His Highness, or if he changed his mind, everything would fall apart. Anis makes herself clear. She didn't come to His Highness looking for a temporary fix. Raquel understands. She wants the problem solved at the root. He agrees without hesitation. He'll go and find a real solution. Anis looks genuinely surprised. You really think there's a way? Raquel is honest, he's not sure yet, but he'll start looking for one from this moment forward. Anis nods in understanding, takes her leave, and says she'll wait for further word from him. The reception room empties out, leaving only Raquel and his attendants. Inside, Raquel is screaming he absolutely cannot let this talent slip away. A team of 50 top-tier nurses. This is the dream he's been chasing. But he's agonizing over one question: how on earth do you treat a muscle that moves on its own? Not long after, Raquel is tearing through the library, desperately searching for answers. He looks completely worn out and still nothing. Suddenly, Garden appears and calls out, "Your Highness!" Raquel nearly leaps out of his skin. Garden puts on a serious face and says, "Furrowing your brow like that lets stress build up inside and leads to all kinds of illness, Your Highness." Raquel stares at him speechlessly. He's the one who just got scared half to death. Garden continues without missing a beat. Constant frowning causes wrinkles. And once wrinkles appear, they're very hard to get rid of. So he's making a point to remind His Highness. Raquel sees right through him. Garden is clearly just trying to cheer him up. And honestly, he appreciates it. Garden is a genuinely kind and thoughtful person. Raquel stubbornly brushes it off. So what if he gets wrinkles? Hyaluronic acid fillers or botulinum toxin, problem solved, he mutters to himself. And then it hits him a flash of inspiration. Botulinum toxin. That's exactly what he's been looking for. Botulinum toxin is the most powerful paralytic agent known to exist. The werewolf tail is essentially an uncontrolled muscle, and localized paralysis is the perfect fix. And as luck would have it, he has exactly the toxin resources needed to make this work. Raquel immediately gives Garden his orders. Fetch Kuzman's high-potency toxin capsules, the ones kept in proper storage. Then take me to Anis's room. Raquel finds Anis and announces with barely contained excitement he's found a solution for the tail. They step inside, and Raquel gets serious. Before they proceed, two key things must be confirmed. First, he needs to identify the exact treatment points. Raquel begins his careful examination, checking Anis's physical condition thoroughly. He finds that the flow of her meridians is slightly different from a human's. Aside from the position of the governor vessel, everything else is largely similar, no major differences. But there is one meridian that humans don't have running directly toward the tail. All things considered, a werewolf's body structure is actually quite close to a human's. Raquel asks Anis to shift into her werewolf form so he can confirm the meridian positions. Anis nods and transforms immediately, taking on a powerful, imposing werewolf form. Raquel looks her over and mutters that she's smaller than he imagined. She actually reminds him of Cheeky, his old pet dog from years ago. He reaches out instinctively and asks for a handshake. Anis reflexively extends her hand. Then it hits her he's treating her like a dog. She completely flips out. Raquel quickly puts on an apologetic smile and says he was just joking, please don't take it personally. Then he immediately pushes his luck and tells her to roll over, and she actually does it. Raquel bursts out laughing. He didn't actually expect that to work. He quickly moves on and announces it's time for the real examination. Back in the study, Raquel thinks it over. The question of where to treat has been resolved. The second challenge is determining the precise dosage of the paralytic toxin. He considers going to ask Kuzman, but he doesn't trust the man, not even a little. So he thinks why not just take the toxin himself and run experiments using the monoring. The organs instantly erupt in chaos, all of them crying out that he has completely lost his mind. Liver speaks up first. If Raquel actually ingests the toxin, it'll be liver stuck doing the detox work. Better to just grab a fantasy beast and test it on that instead. Raquel refuses immediately. How could anyone feed poison to something so small and adorable? That's completely out of the question. The organs fire back at once, and using his own body as a test subject isn't out of the question. Liver points out there is a fantasy beast whose skill is component analysis. It can break down anything completely, whether it's a toxin or an herbal medicine. Raquel is completely floored. He can't believe there's a fantasy beast with an ability that insane. Liver says it came across the information in the system's standby chamber. Raquel looks puzzled. System standby chamber, what in the world is that? Liver answers plainly it's exactly what it sounds like. A place to wait on standby. Before Raquel's consciousness was awakened, all the organs were resting there, fast asleep. That includes heart, lungs, large intestine, all of them were in that space. Raquel presses on, what about the organs that haven't woken up yet? Same situation? Liver confirms yes, and all the fantasy beasts waiting to be summoned are there too. Then Liver quickly cuts itself off, telling him not to ask any more. What they can say and do is strictly limited. Raquel backs off and asks instead, what does the component analyzing fantasy beast look like? Liver refuses flat out, not a chance. The other organs chime, and watching Raquel do a custom gotcha roll is always entertaining. They want to see it. Raquel grits his teeth in frustration. These little monsters are absolutely insufferable. He shouts in defiance, fine then, say nothing at all. He'll find a way to get the truth out of them one way or another. So he holds his breath, deliberately suffocating himself to pressure the organs into talking. The organs panic immediately, screaming that oxygen is running out and this is going to cause serious damage. Lungs reacts worst of all, practically on the verge of a breakdown. Liver and large intestine are furious, cursing at him if he keeps this up. Heart and lungs are going to give out first. The organs completely give in and scramble to describe the component analyzing fantasy beast. And just like that, Raquel successfully summons the fantasy beast he was after. Raquel gasps. Is this a flame molefish? The flame molefish sways gently, as if offering a friendly greeting, pleased to meet you. The two fantasy beasts quickly drift toward each other and begin interacting in a surprisingly friendly way. A delighted Raquel takes out the medicine and lets the flame mola fish taste it. After the flame mola fish consumes the substance, it activates its skill and enters a state of suspended animation, then rapidly revives. Upon revival, it produces a complete record of everything consumed, including all components and lethal dosage thresholds. It can even write out every property of every substance with pinpoint accuracy. The analytical ability is absolutely insane. Raquel snatches up the record in pure joy. He can finally calculate the safe dosage needed to paralyze Anis's tail. First thing the next morning, Raquel calls Garden in. The moment Garden steps through the door, he spots the new fantasy beast and stops in his tracks. Raquel explains proudly that this one showed up last night. Seems like fantasy beasts are just naturally drawn to him. Garden smiles along, but internally he's stunned at how often these fantasy beasts keep appearing. Garden suddenly recalls a great figure from the history books, Louis de Frontera, who was said to have possessed 5 fantasy beasts. Raquel asks curiously, was that person really that remarkable? Garden nods and says plainly, Louis de Frontera was the cornerstone figure who built the foundations of the empire. Truly extraordinary. Raquel has no patience for more small talk. He tells Garden to go bring Anis over. Not long after, Garden brings Anis over. Anis is full of doubt and nerves. Even if he is the crown prince, can he really fix her tail in just one day? Garden notices her anxiety and offers a quiet word of reassurance. Anis looks startled. Garden quickly explains he could tell from her expression. Anis calls him out directly. He obviously figured it out from her tail, not her face. After being exposed, Garden looks a little awkward. He quickly apologizes. Anis takes it in stride. She says it's fine, she's long since gotten used to being looked at differently. She shrugs, then realizes the two of them haven't even properly introduced themselves yet. Garden reaches out first and introduces himself as Piero Gardan, the crown prince's personal physician. Anis extends her hand in return and introduces herself as Anis, heir of Robur. Garden then carefully asks if he might offer her one important piece of advice. Anis nods and tells him to go ahead. Garden says earnestly no matter what Raquel does during the treatment, she must not be alarmed. Anis only grows more uneasy. Just what kind of treatment is she walking into? Inside, Raquel is already dressed in his white coat, waiting with an air of complete professionalism. He waves her in warmly, calling her his patient and gesturing for her to come sit down. Anis sits, still not quite believing that Raquel actually found a solution in a single day. Raquel assures her just trust him. It will not go wrong. Anis is still uneasy and nervously asks if he can explain the method first. Raquel pulls out a set of silver needles and explains with a smile he'll insert needles around her tail multiple times and finish by injecting a substance. That's all. The more he explains, the more excited he gets. He asks Anis, isn't that cool? The attendants around them all burst into applause, praising Raquel as a genius. Anis is completely lost. She turns to look at Garden. Garden gives her a look that says, please, just trust his highness. Everyone else in the room nods in agreement, all silently urging her to have faith in Raquel. And Raquel himself looks at her with complete sincerity, his eyes full of confidence and anticipation. Anis is quietly falling apart inside. It's not just the crown prince, everyone in this room seems to have lost their minds. Raquel sees her hesitation and says, stop second guessing. Give him one chance. Anis wrestles with herself. It doesn't inspire confidence, but she decides to try anyway. She tells herself if this actually works, her people will never have to suffer because of their tails again. And if there's any risk, she'll be the one to take it. Anis takes a deep breath and tells Raquel she'll do it. Raquel lights up and snaps his fingers, signaling the attendants to begin preparations. The attendants walk in carrying white cloth panels and screen Anis off so she can change in privacy. Once changed, Anis lies down on the bed and dutifully exposes her tail for treatment. Raquel finishes his preparations and says with firm resolve the treatment officially begins now. He activates the Asrahan heart method, carefully observing the structure of Anis's body. Raquel marvels quietly the Asrahan heart method lives up to its name. He can actually see the acupuncture points. He thinks to himself he can finally see with his own eyes what he'd only ever heard about in legends. No more hesitation. He picks up the needle and prepares to begin this one-of-a-kind procedure. Raquel precisely locates Xuanshu point, gauges a depth of 5 fen, and drives the needle in without hesitation. He immediately releases 0.01 milliliters of stored muscle-paralyzing botulinum toxin. Next, he locates Mingmen point and inserts the needle at a depth of 7 fen. The next target is Yaoyangguan point. Raquel goes in without a moment's pause. At 8 fen deep, the toxin takes effect, clearing the mana that had been trying to bypass Xuanshu point. Everything flows smoothly. Mana flows cleanly down the erector spinae on both sides of the spine. The tail begins to lose its strength. But the treatment has only just started. His goal isn't just to paralyze the tail, he needs the paralysis to last permanently. At this moment, Anis's tail starts moving again. Her recovery speed is extraordinary. Raquel doesn't flinch. He anticipated exactly this. He picks up speed, driving needles in rapidly. He cannot give the tail any chance to recover. He hits Yaoshu point with precision, and the last point remaining is now Kong point. Anis is utterly confused and starting to panic. She came here for her tail, so why is a needle going into the back of her head? The next second, Anis's tail begins to tremble. Then it slowly droops down and goes still. And in its place, Anis's little toe begins to wiggle. Raquel shouts in triumph, it worked. The entire treatment is complete. He speaks gently to Anis, telling her to relax, she can let go of all that tension now. Anis blinks in disbelief. That's it? It's already done? She looks at her tail, now hanging limp. She notices that her usual anxious tail curling simply isn't happening anymore. Raquel explains he tricked her body's nervous system in order to paralyze the tail. He rerouted the tail's nerve signals to the little toe on her left foot. Now, whether she's sad or happy, her little toe moves instead of her tail. That's the magic of it. Anis can't hold it back anymore. Tears pour down her face. Every injustice, every prejudice, every moment of discrimination she has endured since childhood is finally, truly over. Anis thanks him through tears, her voice thick with emotion. Raquel says there's no need for thanks, the treatment is done, which means it's time to sign the contract. He hands over the contract and reminds her don't forget the special condition. She needs to bring all her tribe members. Raquel produces a pen and signals that they can sign right now. Not long after, Raquel is grinning from ear to ear. He hasn't felt this good in a long time. Garden can't help but ask, is His Highness really this happy? Raquel answers without missing a beat, absolutely. This is 50 S-rank nurses. He adds that these 50 werewolves have all completed professional nursing training, whether it's patient care, emergency response, herbal medicine identification and storage, brewing medicinal decoctions, or managing moxastones, they've mastered all of it. They even know how to run an inpatient ward. Just then, a nurse walks over and respectfully presents a newly drafted duty roster. Raquel flips through it with a grin, nodding repeatedly and murmuring, excellent. Excellent. Because the Palace Annex Korean Clinic has finally achieved a fully automatic 24-hour operating model, and the werewolves seem to have fully adjusted to their little toes doing the wiggling now. It's absolutely perfect. A system notification chimes. Raquel has successfully completed the procedure for Anis and all 50 werewolves. The organs all rise to their feet and give Raquel a roaring round of applause for his exceptional medical skill. All the commotion wakes up a new member. Stomach finally opens its eyes. The moment it's awake, it goes wild, screaming for fried pork chops, sweet and sour pork, and fried chicken. Then it demands pizza too. It's so hungry it's about to pass out, and it won't stop hounding Raquel to feed it. Raquel stares at the panel helplessly. None of those foods exist here, so stomach compromise is fine. At least give it one piece of candy. Raquel takes out a candy and pops it in, muttering that stomach has the taste of a small child. Absolutely adorable. System notification. Stomach cheers for the sweet flavor and sponsors 300 HP. Heart, lungs, large intestine, and liver are all thrilled about the youngest member's awakening, and together they sponsor 700 HP. Raquel notices with delight that the organ's advisory range has expanded significantly. The Asrahan heart method levels up, and his overall strength takes a major leap forward. The mana ring's storage space also expands, allowing him to store even more toxins and herbal medicines. The clinic's foundational systems are finally in place. Stable operations can begin. But not long after, Palace Annex Chief Attendant Paval comes bursting in, shouting in a panic, "Your Highness, something terrible has happened." Raquel looks puzzled. "Paval, what brings you here at this hour? Are you feeling unwell?" Paval bows quickly, his expression frantic. He has urgent news to report. Raquel's heart clenches. He immediately asks what's happened. Paval forces the words out. The Palace Annex's operating budget is nearly exhausted. Raquel lets out a cry of disbelief. He can't comprehend it. He is the Crown Prince, and he's broke? He spirals immediately. Without money, the clinic cannot keep running. Raquel demands an explanation. Why is there suddenly no money? He needs the full story. Paval explains helplessly. Last autumn, His Highness drastically cut the Palace Annex's budget himself. Raquel internally goes into full meltdown. He curses his past self for being an absolute idiot. Paval quietly explains at the time, everyone believed His Highness was beyond saving. That's why the cuts were carried out. Raquel wants to cry but can't even manage that. He brought this entirely on himself. Paval quickly tries to console him. His Highness is healthy now, and that's something to be glad about. Raquel looks completely deflated. He cannot feel glad about anything anything right now. Without money, nothing can be done. He flails around and shouts, why does money have to fail him at the worst possible moment? Deep down, Raquel demands an answer from his past self. Did you really have to do this to me? He sighs in resignation. He can understand why past him made that call, but complaining won't solve anything. Raquel asks with a flicker of hope, is there any way to add to this year's palace annex budget? Pavel answers immediately and firmly, absolutely not. Raquel says in despair, if there's no money, the clinic will collapse and so will he. Pavel explains regretfully, under the imperial royal law, budget requests can only be submitted once per year, and the only person in the entire empire not bound by that law is His Majesty the Emperor. Raquel makes up his mind in an instant. Time to cash in on the perks of having an emperor for a father. But not long after that plan crashes and burns completely. Back in the palace annex, Raquel thinks miserably if he can't get the money, the clinic is finished. Raquel thinks to himself, he can't keep losing to money. There's only one option left. He calls for Pavel and asks whether there's a completed inventory of the palace annex's assets. Pavel nods right away. Every single item has been cataloged. Raquel claps his hands in excitement and tells Pavel to bring every last inventory list to him. He's going to sell off every valuable thing in the palace annex. Priceless paintings, sculptures, gold and silver tableware, all of it goes up for sale. Pavel watches in agony as the treasures he's devoted himself to managing are about to be sold off entirely. He pleads desperately, begging His Highness to reconsider and not wipe out every last treasure. Raquel stands firm. His mind is made up. Pavel is frantic and furious. He bursts into tears, shouts that he hates the crown prince, and runs off in heartbreak. A few days later, Raquel summons Pavel and Damien to the study to announce his plan. Raquel speaks in a serious tone, selling off the luxury items is only a short-term fix to stop the bleeding. Damien asks whether he's already planning the next step. Raquel lays it out clearly. This is the critical window to secure long-term, stable funding. If they don't get a foothold now, the moment the money runs out, it's all over. Pavel cries and says there's nothing left in the palace annex to sell. Then Raquel bursts out laughing. He already has a new plan figured out. He announces loud and proud, from this day forward, he will personally brew medicines and sell them. Starting today, he is the crown prince who deals in medicine. His eyes burn with resolve. The only way to keep the clinic running is to rake in serious cash. And the only way he survives is by doing exactly that. Pavel is stunned. He can't believe His Highness is actually going to brew and sell medicine himself. He quickly suggests that if funds are tight, they could charge patients a reasonable fee for treatment. Raquel shoots it down immediately. Charging fees means fewer patients, and he refuses to let that happen. Raquel is completely confident the plan is to make a fortune selling premium-grade medicines. These medicines will come with a steep price tag, backed by clear and powerful healing effects. They'll be packaged beautifully enough to satisfy any collector's desire to show off guaranteed bestsellers. Raquel lays out the vision with excitement. This is a brand personally launched by the crown prince himself. Any family with wealth and status will see owning it as a mark of prestige. This is the ultimate luxury household emergency medicine made exclusively for the nobility. Damien looks thoroughly skeptical and asks, does a medicine like this actually exist? Raquel pats his chest with full confidence. Of course it does, and the ingredients are incredibly rare and potent. The key ingredient is the gallstone of a minotaur, and the medicine will be called the Minotaur Bezoar Heart Clearing Pill. He explains it's a renowned emergency remedy. The Bezoar Heart Clearing Pill treats cardiovascular and cerebrovascular conditions, as well as high blood pressure, a powerful mental stabilizer. Afterward, Raquel and Damien go for a walk together. Damien presses him. Is he really going to sell medicine made from minotaur gallstones? Will anyone actually be willing to take that? Raquel is completely unfazed. The rarer something is, the more people scramble to get their hands on it. He stresses the point, compared to ordinary cattle bezoar, the Minotaur gallstone is stronger and far more rare. Both the medicinal value and the status symbol factor are maxed out. The product's worth will be off the charts. Damien still isn't convinced. He says bluntly that he still thinks it won't sell. This is the first time he's ever heard of the Bezoar heart clearing pill. If it's really that effective, why does no one in the Empire know about it? Raquel waves it off. It's a well-known remedy from an ancient kingdom that no longer exists. Damien grows even more puzzled and immediately asks which ancient kingdom exactly. Raquel brushes past the question. It came to him in a dream, that's all. He adds that his knowledge of acupuncture and herbal formulas all came to him through dreams as well. Hearing this, Damien thinks to himself, Piero Gardan has mentioned something like this before, but something about it still feels off. He quietly mulls it over. Gardan follows blindly, which is why he swallows whatever His Highness says without question. Damien silently makes peace with it. As long as his paycheck arrives on time every month, none of this really matters. He then brings up a more pressing issue. His Highness is an unlicensed physician. How can he practice medicine openly? Raquel looks genuinely baffled and asks, do you actually need a special license to treat patients? When the answer is yes, Raquel is floored. So you actually have to pass an exam and get a medical license to practice? He had absolutely no idea. He laughs it off awkwardly and immediately pivots. The priority right now is getting his hands on a Minotaur gallstone. Damien asks whether he should send someone to the herb merchants in the capital to source the materials. Raquel says the herb merchants won't have gallstones. Bezoar isn't even used in medicine around here. Then he drops the bombshell. He's going to personally go and buy a live Minotaur. Raquel announces their destination, Creamer City in the Empire's northeast. It's home to the Empire's largest monster auction house and serves as a major logistics hub. He needs to inspect the Minotaur and its gallstone with his own eyes. Damien mutters to himself internally, this crown Prince operates on a whole different level of insanity. Before long, Raquel has the carriage ready to go. The speed is almost alarming. Anis is also ready. Raquel waves everyone over and urges them to hurry up. It's time to go. Damien is stunned at how fast this is happening. There's been no time to prepare at all. Raquel's expression suddenly shifts like he's sensed something. He immediately rushes Damien into the carriage. He can feel someone is about to come after them. The carriage takes off at full speed toward Kramer City. Pierrot Gardin comes running after them in tears, crying out how could His Highness leave without taking his own physician. Raquel leans out and tells Gardin to hold down the Palace Annex Korean clinic, promising to bring back a souvenir. With that settled, the carriage officially departs the capital, and the group sets off for Kramer. Damien can't help but marvel. He never expected the carriage ride to be this comfortable. Raquel raises an eyebrow with satisfaction. He's the Crown Prince. After all, of course his ride is going to be comfortable. He settles in comfortably and declares this is what first-class travel on wheels truly feels like. The carriage rolls on, and on the 8th day after leaving the capital, Magenta, they finally arrive. Kramer City is a coastal town, its streets bustling with people and alive with energy. Raquel's eyes light up as he points ahead. That's the legendary monster auction house. The carriage slowly comes to a stop in front of the entrance. A guard steps forward and tells them to move the carriage immediately. Parking here is not allowed. Paval immediately steps up and snaps at the guard. Does he have any idea who's inside this carriage? The guard scoffs and fires back arrogantly. What, is the Crown Prince in there or something? Raquel immediately pulls back the curtain and greets the guard himself. The guard takes one look at who it is and is scared out of his wits. He can't get a single word out. He scrambles inside on all fours, rushing frantically to find Mayor Iger Kramer and report this earth-shattering news. The messenger shouts in barely coherent words, His Highness the Crown Prince has arrived in person. The mayor is completely stunned. He can't believe the Crown Prince would show up in his city out of nowhere. The mayor snaps back to his senses and hurries over with eager deference for someone of His Highness's standing. What could have possibly brought him to Kramer City? Raquel says casually he just happened to be passing through and wanted to pick up a few things. The mayor immediately offers to arrange a dedicated escort unit to ensure His Highness's safety. Raquel waves it off. He already has more than enough guards with him. He says he'll only be here briefly and tells the mayor not to fuss, but the mayor is still flustered with the Crown Prince here in person. He simply must offer proper hospitality. Raquel, worn down by the mayor's insistence, reluctantly gives in and agrees to visit the mayor's residence later. The mayor responds eagerly and promises to have everything prepared for the visit. He turns and barks orders at his staff start cleaning from the courtyard and spare no effort in preparing the welcome. Before long, the monster auction officially begins. The atmosphere in the hall is unusually quiet. Damien and Raquel are seated in the very important person room, and both find the silence almost eerie. Raquel guesses it must be because this is a monster auction. Damien agrees, probably afraid that too much noise might accidentally rouse the monsters inside. As the auction looks to be wrapping up, Raquel stifles a yawn and wonders where's the Minotaur? It hasn't shown up all day. Just then, a massive Minotaur is slowly brought out, instantly commanding the attention of everyone in the room. Raquel is stunned. This thing is big enough to make beef soup for 100 people. The build is absolutely absurd. He quietly estimates that if this Minotaur competed in powerlifting, it'd be pulling at least 30 tons. The auctioneer announces in a loud voice the grand finale of today's auction is this prize live Minotaur. He explains that it took 7 elite hunter squads from the eastern mountain range 3 full months to capture it. Its value is extraordinary. Raquel's eyes blaze with intensity. Inside, he's screaming he has to have this thing. He can tell the Minotaur has been given heavy sedatives, yet it still roars ferociously, and Raquel likes it even more for that. The auctioneer announces the opening bid for the Minotaur, 50,000 margin. Raquel freezes and immediately asks Damien, did he hear that opening bid correctly? Other monsters sold for 5,000 at most. This one opens at 10 times that. Damien reassures him with 100,000 margin. His Highness has prepared. It should still be enough to win the bid. Raquel thinks to himself, technically they have enough, but this price is going to shoot up fast. He scans the room and sees the other bidders. Their eyes are fierce and hungry, each one looking dead set on winning. Raquel concludes 100,000 margin will never be enough to secure that Minotaur. He's already frustrated. 100,000 margin could buy a luxury apartment. He refuses to give up. He cannot afford to miss out on the one ingredient he needs. He has to think of something fast. He suddenly turns to Damien and tells him to listen closely to what he's about to say. Raquel leans in and whispers his plan directly into Damien's ear. Damien listens with a hesitant expression and asks, does His Highness really intend to go through with this? Raquel says without a moment's doubt, absolutely. Damien can't hold back. He says bluntly that the orders His Highness just gave sound like something a street thug would do. Raquel shrugs it off. So what if it sounds like a thug as long as it gets the job done? Damien gives in with a sigh and agrees to go carry out the plan. Inside the auction hall, bidding begins. Someone immediately calls out 50,500 margin. Another buyer jumps in right away, pushing the price up to 53,000 margin. The number keeps climbing. Another bidder shouts 55,000 margin. Raquel waits anxiously, muttering to himself, what is Damien waiting for? Finally, Damien arrives with the mayor in tow. Raquel plays dumb and acts surprised, asking the mayor what brings him here to the auction. The mayor is confused. Didn't His Highness ask him to come with a guard unit? Then he catches the perfectly innocent look on Raquel's face, and it all clicks. The mayor thinks to himself his entire political career has been built on reading the room. He reads Raquel's intent immediately. His Highness wants his identity revealed right here, right now. The mayor clears his throat, sees his chance, and decides to score some serious brownie points. He immediately calls out in a booming voice, thanking His Highness the Crown Prince for graciously accepting his hospitality. The entire hall erupts. The bidders are stunned. They can't believe the Crown Prince is actually here. The mayor announces loudly that he has personally arranged a special escort of 100 guards for His Highness. Raquel plays right along, speaking as the Crown Prince and graciously accepting the mayor's gesture. Damien, who who made all this happen, watches from the side with a look of pure disbelief. Raquel feigns a moment of realization, picks up his bidding paddle, and says, oh, he almost forgot he's still part of this auction. He raises his paddle calmly and calls out 60,000 margin. Every eye in the room locks on him. The bidders all know nobody dares to outbid the Crown Prince. Raquel lifts his paddle with a challenging glint in his eye. He's the Crown Prince. Let's see any of you try to top that. The bidders are instantly rattled. No one dares to bid higher than the Crown Prince. The atmosphere freezes. Inside, the auctioneer is falling apart. He cannot believe a treasure like this is going for just 60,000 margin. He screams internally. This prized minotaur, captured at enormous cost, is basically being robbed in plain sight. His heart sinks. Is this really how this auction is going to end, in such humiliating fashion? Just then, a voice cuts through the silence. Someone calls out 70,000 margin. The auctioneer is completely floored. He can't believe someone actually dared to bid higher than the Crown Prince. The entire hall erupts again in an instant. Raquel, Delta's Waterloo, is furious and stunned. He rages internally. Who on earth has the nerve to go against him? He looks closely and recognizes the man. It's Quinnis de Shang, a wealthy merchant from the south. Quinnis is quietly smug. He's not a citizen of the empire, so he has absolutely nothing to fear from the Crown Prince. Someone in the crowd whispers a warning to Quinnis. This particular prince has a well-known reputation for holding grudges. Raquel grits his teeth. He heard every word, and this man is clearly provoking him on purpose. Quinnis looks over at Raquel with a challenging smirk. If His Highness wants it so badly, set aside the royal title and let money do the talking. Raquel is absolutely furious now. He roars internally, bring it on. That minotaur is his no matter what. The auctioneer continues. His Highness the Crown Prince bids 71,000 margin. Quinnis follows without a moment's hesitation. 72,000 margin. After a frenzy of bidding, the prized minotaur finally sells for the staggering sum of 250,000 margin. Quinnis is beaming with satisfaction, laughing triumphantly. Inside, this round goes to him. Raquel, utterly defeated, stands frozen on the spot. He watches the minotaur being led away and cries out, don't just take it like that. Damien steps over to comfort him and actually says it's a good thing His Highness lost this one. He breaks it down rationally. Throwing 100,000 margin at a single monster is simply not worth it. Raquel looks at Damien and thinks this guy is annoyingly loyal and brutally honest. But a second later, Damien follows up. If His Highness keeps throwing money around like this, there may be no paycheck left for him to collect. He states plainly that the one and only reason he stays by His Highness's side is the stable and generous salary. The moment that condition is no longer met, he has no reason to stay. Raquel is speechless. He pulled this man out of the underground combat arena, and this is the gratitude he gets. Damien calmly acknowledges that yes, he is grateful, but gratitude and a paycheck are two completely different things. Raquel is taken aback and keeps pressing, can genuine gratitude and money really be kept completely separate? Damien says of course they can. That goes without saying. Raquel thinks back in the original novel, Damien was the powerful protagonist he always rooted for. Thinking of the man's future potential, having the greatest swordsman in history by his side feels like the most reassuring thing in the world. All Raquel has ever wanted is for Damien to stay, so that everyone around him can live a safe and happy life. Only then can the people beside him truly be protected. Raquel snaps back to reality and reassures Damien. He swears he will never, ever withhold anyone's pay. He turns to the mayor and asks him to take them to his residence to rest. Then he immediately takes off running because pulling that stunt and still losing is just too embarrassing to be seen. Back at the residence, Raquel collapses face first onto the bed, his whole body aching with exhaustion. He makes a firm vow tomorrow he will get his hands on another minotaur, and he'll keep it under 100,000 margin. Then a royal guard bursts in frantically, shouting for His Highness to get up immediately. Something has gone terribly wrong. The guard urges him to flee to safety at once. There's no time to waste. Before the words are even finished, the wall explodes inward with brute force. Chaos erupts. Damien instantly draws his sword and steps in front of Raquel, ordering His Highness to get behind him. A split second later, a massive hand sends Damien flying. Raquel looks up and freezes. Of all things, the one that just crashed through the wall is that minotaur. It turns out that earlier, while still in Quinnis's possession, the minotaur had broken free from its heavy chains by sheer force. Quinnis took one look at the rampaging creature and stood there, paralyzed with terror. The minotaur lets out a ferocious roar. Its eyes locked with burning fury on Quinn as the one it hates most. It raises one enormous fist and brings it crashing down at Quinn's pure revenge. Quinnis is scared out of his wits, screaming that he's a wealthy merchant, the minotaur's rightful owner. But it doesn't take long before he abandons that claim entirely and just runs. The minotaur tears after him, absolutely relentless in its pursuit. Quinnis's legs can barely hold him up. One thought fills his mind: get somewhere safe. Now. He runs blindly and desperately, sprinting toward the mayor's residence in Kramer City. Quinnis suddenly points and shouts in a direction, trying to draw the minotaur's attention away. He uses the split second of distraction to dart into cover near the mayor's residence. The minotaur loses sight of its target and roars in fury, then slams into the wall of the mayor's residence with full force. The wall collapses with a thunderous crash, and the minotaur instantly spots Raquel inside the room. Raquel furrows his brow, confused. What is going on with that creature's eyes? Those eyes look like a patient's full of pain, with nowhere to turn, helpless and desperate. The minotaur's gaze shifts to Raquel. It remembers this one was part of the bidding too. It roars and marks him as an enemy. Raquel blinks, baffled. Why is this thing coming after him specifically? The minotaur closes in step by step, raises its colossal fist high, and brings it hammering down at Raquel. Raquel throws his arms up in a panic to block, but Damien reacts in an instant, swinging his sword up in front of Raquel to shield him. He shouts at Raquel to run now, before it's too late to get out alive. Raquel shouts back he is absolutely not dying here. He worked too hard to hold on to this life. The Minotaur is fully enraged now. It swings blow after blow, each one carrying devastating force. Damien grinds his teeth and barely holds on, stunned by how impossibly fast those fists are moving. Raquel watches in horror. A direct hit from that would mean shattered bones and ruptured organs, instant death. Then the Minotaur suddenly redirects and lunges straight at Raquel, and Damien kicks Raquel out of the way in sheer desperation. Raquel hits the ground, stunned and furious. He cannot believe Damien just kicked him. Then chunks of debris start raining down, and the two realize they're trapped inside the rubble. Damien suddenly speaks up. He says there's something very important he needs to tell His Highness. He says completely serious if they manage to survive today, he'd like to receive hazard pay. Raquel is dumbstruck. He's bringing up hazard pay right now? What happens if he says no? Damien answers plainly he'll bail and share the battle plan with the monster on his way out. He'll count to 3, strike the Minotaur to create an opening, and let Raquel use that moment to escape. Raquel asks frantically, even if he runs, where exactly is he supposed to go in this wreckage? By now, Damien is squared off against the Minotaur. Hearing the question, he points to an open window on the second floor. Damien tells Raquel to jump. Raquel loses it. He'll fall to his death. Damien reasons calmly jumping is still better than being crushed to death right here. From the sounds outside, the guard unit is preparing to strike the Minotaur from behind. Even if Raquel breaks a leg on the way down, the guards will get him to safety. This is the only way out alive, Damien says in a low, sharp voice. Get ready. They move in seconds. Raquel swallows hard, tenses every muscle, and braces himself to sprint. Damien suddenly shouts 3 and leaps at the Minotaur. Raquel screams internally what happened to 1 and 2. He wasn't ready at all. Damien's blade connects with the Minotaur's head. Raquel seizes the moment and runs for his life. He reaches the window, grits his teeth, and leaps, silently whispering a desperate farewell to his life. Midway down, something blocks his fall, and Raquel instinctively grabs on with everything he has. He looks and finds himself dangling from the Minotaur's arm. At that exact moment, the system flashes and alert emergency mode is now active. The system runs a rapid scan and pulls up a basic full assessment subject. Eurus, King of Minotaurs. Details: age 48, height 712 centimeters, cardiac function rating F. Overall assessment: prolonged captivity and repeated sedative use had severely disrupted his physical equilibrium. Raquel is floored. The cardiac condition is critical. This is serious stable angina. He knows exactly what this means. Left untreated, it will deteriorate into a myocardial infarction and cardiac arrest. Angina means the blood vessels are already half blocked. The pain is like having a car drive over your chest. No wonder this creature is so violent. Raquel is being thrashed around painfully, but this is absolutely not the time to start treating anyone. He's close to tears. Right now, he's in worse shape than the patient. Raquel clings on with everything he has. One slip, and he'll be smashed to a pulp. The Minotaur raises its arm furiously, trying to shake him off, and Damien seizes the opening, driving his blade into the Minotaur's horn. Damien curses himself internally. He was aiming for the eye, but moved too fast and only caught the horn. He jumps back to a safe distance and shouts for Raquel to hold on just a little longer. He's coming. Raquel is being violently swung around on the Minotaur's arm, screaming at Damien to hurry up. Damien tightens his grip on his sword and charges again, lining up a rapid double strike, one to the waist, one to the shoulder. He calculates it doesn't need to cut deep. He just needs to create one split second of opportunity. Damien's sword lands clean on the Minotaur's shoulder. The creature roars in pain. Raquel's grip gives out, his fingers slip, and he plummets straight down from the Minotaur's arm. As he falls, he lets out a hopeless sigh. What a perfect day to just die right here. Then a figure shoots upward with incredible speed and catches Raquel clean in midair. Raquel opens his eyes, stunned and relieved. The one who caught him is Ennis. Anis carries Raquel to safety in a bridal carry and quietly checks if he's alright. Raquel quickly shakes his head. He's fine. The royal guards urge them. His Highness's safety comes first. They need to move. The Minotaur sees Raquel getting away and lets out a furious roar, then immediately locks its eyes on Damien. Damien tightens his grip on his sword and settles into a fighting stance. Looks like since his Highness got away, he's next in line. The Minotaur swings at him. Damien sidesteps it with ease. Damien makes a quiet vow to himself. After this fight is over, he is absolutely getting that hazard pay. The Minotaur swings again with savage force. Damien plans to let the fist come and slash from the hand up to the forearm. Blade meets fist with a brutal clash, and Damien is shocked by how hard those knuckles are, far harder than expected. The Minotaur howls in pain, then launches into a relentless barrage of punches. It keeps swinging, then abruptly stops mid-motion. Damien immediately steps back, wondering is that bizarre pause a deliberate feint? The next second, the Minotaur drops to its knees in agony. Damien seizes the perfect opening and charges forward, sword raised for the finishing blow, but the Minotaur snaps back. It moves first. A single punch sends Damien slamming into the wall. Damien crashes to the ground, wounds slashed across his body. The situation just became far more dangerous. The Minotaur advances with a slow, triumphant stride, raising its massive fist. One more blow, and Damien is finished. Damien closes his eyes. He thinks, in quiet despair, is this really where it all ends? Then Raquel's voice rings out in a sharp shout. He orders Little Spike to charge and ram the Minotaur, buying time for Damien. Little Spike rockets forward and slams into the Minotaur with full force, shoving its massive body away from Damien. Damien is stunned and relieved in equal measure. He never expected Raquel to show up at exactly this moment. Raquel cheers in excitement. Little Spike landed it. The red sunflower seed really did make it grow. He waves wildly at Damien to come over. They're both getting their well-deserved reward after this. Damien laughs despite himself and shouts back, understood. He's collecting a lot of money for this, but first he needs to actually get out of this alive. On the other side, the Minotaur shakes off the impact and comes back to its senses. It rips rips Little Spike out of its body in fury, and hurls Little Spike with devastating force, straight in Damien's direction. Raquel shouts, urgently catch Little Spike's quills, and use the momentum to launch yourself out. Damien reaches out and grabs on without hesitation. Little Spike carries him in a powerful leap, pulling him cleanly out of danger. The two land safely, but before they can even catch a breath, the Minotaur is already staring them down. The Minotaur lets out one last thunderous roar, and the entire mayor's residence comes down on top of it, burying it under the rubble. Raquel rushes over and praises Little Spike. That was incredible. Then he looks at Damien with genuine concern and asks if he's hurt. Damien answers in a calm, even tone, of course he's perfectly fine. Raquel stares at the rubble and thought the Minotaur is definitely not dead, and its bezoar is still the finest material available. He shudders at how close it was. One wrong move and he would have met his maker. Raquel makes the call without hesitation. He rallies everyone and says they're getting out of this place right now. The mayor rushes to Raquel's side at that moment and swears to devote himself fully to serving and protecting his highness from this day forward. He respectfully says he will take Raquel to the safest place in the city. They follow the mayor closely and soon arrive at the waterfront, where a large ship sits anchored. The mayor extends a respectful invitation. Please board his vessel, your highness. Once they're at sea, they'll be completely safe. Raquel quietly agrees. Getting out of this mess by ship does make sense. He urges the mayor to hurry up and board so they can all leave this dangerous place together. But the mayor's voice is firm as mayor. He will not run. Raquel asks, genuinely puzzled, why would he choose to stay? The mayor says this is his city. He carries the weight of every citizen's well-being and safety. He cannot flee to safety alone. He says he'll remain and command the security forces and earnestly asks Raquel to take the ship to safety first. Something stirs inside Raquel. He had assumed the mayor was simply someone chasing status and success. Damien steps forward and urges him. Raquel can't afford to delay any longer. They need to set sail immediately. He says quietly Raquel shouldn't feel guilty. Everyone has a role to play. Raquel nods slowly. The mayor's role is to protect and govern the city. The guard's role is to protect his life with everything they have, and his role is to stay alive and carry the weight of the crown. With one command, the anchor is raised. The ship slowly pulls away from the dock and heads out to sea. Then the Minotaur's savage roar tears through the air. It launches itself in one enormous leap, its massive body soaring through the air and crashing straight down onto the ship. A thunderous impact, the Minotaur lands on the deck, and the ship rocks so violently it nearly capsizes. It roars in rage, grabs one of the ship's massive masts, and swings it straight at everyone on deck. Raquel panics, shouting, what do they do? He wants to run, but there's nowhere to go. He's beside himself. He can't swim. Falling into the ocean means certain death. The organs inside him sense mortal danger and begin to surge violently, sending him urgent warnings. Damien keeps his head and directs Raquel press close to the wreckage at the stern. The fallen sail actually forms cover. Use it to shield from the attacks. Raquel asks Damien if he hides there. What is Damien going to do? Damien gets to his feet and reminds Raquel his highness owes him a very generous reward for today, and now it's time to earn it. With that, he charges at the Minotaur with sword raised. Damien calls out to Honest. They'll attack from both sides. Honest launches herself into the air, biting down hard on the Minotaur's arm while Damien simultaneously slashes its shoulder. The Minotaur seizes Honest by the tail and hurls her through the air. The royal guards rush in to swarm the Minotaur from all sides, but they're hopelessly outmatched. Every single one is on the losing end. Raquel holds his breath and watches intently, tracking the Minotaur's every move without missing a thing. The system issues an alert. The host is facing an unprecedented crisis. Extreme experience will yield growth. Under the pressure of life and death, the Azrahan precision diagnosis method advances significantly. A new pulse reading function has been unlocked. Meridian point scan, capable of predicting the movements of any living subject being scanned. Available on living beings only. Raquel is stunned and thrilled all at once. He thinks to himself this is a straight-up cheat code ability. He can now read every angle of the Minotaur's muscle movement. The timing and exact point of each incoming strike are completely transparent to him. Raquel's confidence surges with this skill. He can dodge every single hit, but he quickly steadies himself. How long can he keep dodging? His stamina will run out eventually. He has to find a solution before that happens. He makes a silent vow, not just for himself. Every single person with him has to make it out safe, because he too has an important role to play. Then the Minotaur raises its fist and takes aim at the royal guards nearby. The situation is critical. Raquel steps forward and blocks the blow head-on, and his body suddenly grows to match the Minotaur's colossal size. The system issues an urgent warning. The host has consumed a red sunflower seed designated for fantasy beasts only. All consequences are the host's sole responsibility.